Chapter 60. One of the reasons why Qin Wentian was able to spit out palm imprints was naturally due to the divine energy within his body. The divine energy within his body was condensed from the divine imprints of palm imprints, and every strand of divine energy contained the might of a palm. As for the other reason, he had to thank Rain for her lecture. Qin Wentian's arterial circulation was the astral circulation pathway, and after that lecture, he tried to circulate the yuan energy within his body through his arterial circulation pathway and discovered some miraculous effects. This was the reason why he was able to spit out palm imprints earlier. The spectators were all shocked and they saw Qin Wentian forcing Murong Feng back. They had thought that Murong Feng would be able to suppress Qin Wentian by relying on his superior cultivation base and the space render fist. That palm imprint earlier was so terrifying. I once saw a senior at the peak of the arterial circulation realm executing it. Although the might of that palm imprint was stronger, it wasn't as ferocious as Qin Wentian's. An old student murmured. It's indeed terrifying. If that's the case, it's hard to say who would be the victor. The spectators' interest grew. After being forced back, Murong Feng seriously scrutinized Qin Wentian. After which, a smile appeared on his face as he stated, only this way would things be interesting. At least I would be able to unleash my true strength. If not, wouldn't it be too boring? Murong Feng was still holding back earlier. Someone exclaimed in his heart. If that was the case, wasn't Murong Feng a little too terrifying? Do you know why I chose demonic beast-type astral souls? Murong Feng stared at Qin Wentian as he indifferently asked. I'm not interested. Qin Wentian replied. Next, let's properly experience it. This is the first time I've gone all out in a battle after entering the Emperor Star Academy. Murong Feng calmly stated. Abruptly, a terrifying aura gushed forth from his body. His entire being was filled with the aura of a primordial beast. Bloodline. The hearts of the spectators violently pounded. The number one freshman, Murong Feng, had actually awakened the power of his bloodline. His talent was too terrifying. If that was the case, disregarding his cultivation base, just based on his innate talent alone, he had the qualifications to contend against Qin Wentian. No wonder he's so confident. Many people sighed in their hearts. Luo Huan's beautiful eyes flashed with an uneasy light when she saw this scene. It seemed like the rumors were true. Murong Feng actually possessed the power of a bloodline limit. If that was the case, Qin Wentian was truly in danger. Her heart was in her throat again. This is the Berserk Beast bloodline. You are the first person to make me use the power of my bloodline to fight. You already have the right to show off. Murong Feng stared at Qin Wentian. His body seemed to have grown larger, and the aura he exuded was extremely berserk, akin to that of a ferocious beast. Boom! Murong Feng took a step forward, causing the entire stage to tremble. Qin Wentian's countenance grew heavier as he stared at Murong Feng. After activating his bloodline of the berserk beast, Murong Feng's combat prowess had risen to another level. Evidently, Murong Feng's combat prowess had exceeded his expectations. But, so what? The aura Murong Feng exuded grew stronger and stronger. When he arrived in front of Qin Wentian felt that his opponent wasn't a human, but a completely berserk demonic beast. The space render fist was unleashed from Murong Feng's body. This time around, the might of his fist was terrifying. The roars of a lion and the cries of an eagle could be heard, and the surging force of his fist swept through everything, wanting to kill Qin Wentian on the spot. Qin Wentian's countenance was expressionless. However, the divine energy in his body was already boiling, akin to the ferocious roars of the ocean. Upon seeing Murong Feng's fist descending on him, Qin Wentian's palms continuously trembled, and in an instant, several palm imprints were formed. These palm imprints appeared incomparably gentle, yet very quickly, terrifying rumbling sounds could be heard. After which, the crowd saw the palm imprints howling, engulfing the heavens and the earth. Using divine energy to execute the revolving sea imprint instantly consumed an unknown amount of divine energy in Qin Wentian's body. However, the effect was also extremely terrifying. The entire space was engulfed by the palm imprints. Rumble. A terrifying force rumbled on the platform. Murong Feng only felt that the palm imprints he was facing were getting stronger and stronger. Not only that, Qin Wentian's attacks didn't stop. At this moment it was as though Qin Wentian had gone berserk. Numerous revolving sea imprints blasted out, causing Murong Feng's space render fist to explode unceasingly. Finally, that tsunami-like palm imprint broke through everything, arriving in front of Murong Feng. The incomparably terrifying pressure caused Murong Feng's countenance to drastically change. With a howl of rage, he executed the space render fist to its limits. However, his body was still flung through the air as his countenance paled. Qin Wentian is so strong. The hearts of the crowd trembled. The combat prowess Qin Wentian displayed was simply too terrifying. That's the second move of the thousand-hand imprint, the revolving sea imprint. When executed by Qin Wentian, it was as though the waves of the ocean were truly roaring. That imprint technique was simply too cool. Bloodline. I really don't know. Where is your so-called capital to flaunt? A cold smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face as he stared at Murong Feng. However, at this moment, he understood in his heart that he had to end this battle as quickly as possible. The revolving sea imprint consumed too much divine energy, and he wouldn't be able to fight for a long period of time. Murong Feng's countenance gradually contorted as a ruthless glint flickered in his eyes. Today, he had truly lost face. Beautifully done. Beside him, Fan Lo, who had also ignited his bloodline limit, grinned at Qin Wentian. As he spoke, he didn't forget to shoot out a series of arrows in rapid succession, causing Du Hao to feel the urge to go crazy. After Fan Li's bloodline limit was awakened, the might of his arrows was even more tyrannical than before. Not only that, his control over his arrows had also improved, allowing him to continuously change directions, causing Du Hao to have no choice but to defend. Seems like there's no longer any suspense in this battle. Qin Wentian and Fan Lo will both be able to defeat their opponents. Many in the crowd mused in their hearts. The combat prowess of Qin Wentian and Fan Lo had completely exceeded their expectations. This was especially so for Qin Wentian. His thousand-hand imprint was on a completely different level compared to Murong Feng's void splitter fist. Stop playing around. Orkan's countenance turned cold. This Qin Wentian's combat prowess had far exceeded his expectations. Luckily, he had prepared a trump card. As the sound of his voice faded, both Murong Feng and Du Hao nodded their heads lightly. After which, the auras emanating from their bodies surged madly, unceasingly growing stronger. What's going on? Both of their auras are soaring at the same time. The eyes of the crowd narrowed. After which, they saw both Murong Feng and Du Hao rushing towards their opponents simultaneously. Qin Wentian's countenance stiffened as he blasted out with the revolving sea imprint. However, this time around, Qin Wentian only felt a monstrous force gushing towards him. His body was flung through the air, ruthlessly slamming into the arena as he coughed out a mouthful of blood. This sudden turn of events caused the spectators to be completely dumbfounded. What was going on? The tides of the battle had turned in an instant. Boom! Murong Feng's silhouette was as fast as lightning. His void splitter fist slammed towards Qin Wentian. His fist light tore apart space, wanting to shatter Qin Wentian into pieces. Stay your hand. Luo Huan roared, her countenance drastically changing. This battle had escalated to such an intense degree, this was something that no one had expected. Qin Wentian's countenance paled. He leapt into the air, but the fist light had already arrived. Break! A howl of rage rang out, only to see Fatty madly sprinting over. Using his bare hands, he pierced out with the arrow, shattering it into pieces. The incomparably tyrannical Space Render fist smashed into Fatty's chest, causing his body to stiffen. After which, he slumped to the ground helplessly, only to be caught by Qin Wentian, who had already stood up. "You guys have consumed some medicinal pills." The silhouettes of those from the Green Cloud Association flickered as they dashed up the arena. However, those from the Knights Association weren't willing to be outdone, and similarly, they stepped onto the arena, clashing head-on with those from the Green Cloud Association. "This is their own strength," Orkan emotionlessly stated. "There's no longer any meaning in continuing this battle." Luo Huan's countenance was ice-cold. The combat prowess of Qin Wentian and Du Hao had given everyone a pleasant surprise. The two of them were only at the second level of arterial circulation, yet they were able to fight against a third-level arterial circulation realm and a fourth-level arterial circulation realm cultivator. Not only that, Morong Fong had even used the power of his bloodline limit. However, who would have thought that at the very last moment, Morong Fong and Du Hao's strength would explode once again? "The battle hasn't ended yet, so the others are not allowed to interfere." Orkan coldly laughed. "Fatty." At this moment, Qin Wentian's eyes reddened as he stared at Fan Lu. This was the second time. "Damn it, it's really painful. Brother, these two bastards cheated us. I, Fatty, won't be able to help you in the future. Just admit defeat." Fan Lu laughed. Qin Wentian retrieved his silver needles and pierced them into several of Fan Li's acupoints, preventing his injuries from worsening. "The battle hasn't ended yet." Morong Fong slowly walked over. Qin Wentian inclined his head, only to see Morong Fong and Du Hao's expressions filled with ruthlessness. Their goal today was to cripple Qin Wentian and Du Hao. Qin Wentian directly pierced a silver needle into his own temple. He stared at Morong Fong as killing intent gushed forth from his eyes. After which, he inserted the silver needles into every acupoint on his body. Very quickly, silver needles had been inserted into every single acupoint on his body. Streams of qi flowed through the silver needles and circulated throughout his body. The 12 linked chains needle technique can save your life, but it can also take your life. Before stepping into Yuanfu, you are not allowed to use the needles. Qin Wentian could still vaguely remember Uncle Black's instructions. But at this moment, he couldn't care less. Within Qin Wentian's body, a chain of qi circulated frenziedly. Within his body, his blood boiled, as though there were countless formless shackles locking down his blood vessels. However, as the chain of qi transformed into a vortex, the formless shackles broke apart unceasingly. "Fatty, I guarantee that there won't be a next time." The corners of Qin Wentian's lips curled up in a smile as he stared at Fatty in his arms. However, in the next instant, when he turned his gaze towards Morong Fong and Du Hao, his eyes were filled with boundless killing intent. "Die!" Qin Wentian howled in rage. His robes were directly torn apart as his blood vessels were ignited. At this moment, Qin Wentian could feel boundless power surging within him. This feeling was similar to the time when he was ignited by Fan Li's Empyrean flame bloodline. However, this time around, it was even stronger. Was the 12 linked chains needle technique really just a set of needles? Chapter 61. A terrifying killing intent gushed forth from Qin Wentian's body. The spectators stared at the bare-chested Qin Wentian as their hearts pounded wildly. On Qin Wentian's body, lines of bloodline runic lines could be seen. The crowd felt as though they were looking at a complicated chain of shackles. "What is that thing?" The hearts of the spectators trembled violently. Even Mustang, who had just stepped onto the platform, was dumbfounded. Earlier, when he saw Qin Wentian in danger, he immediately appeared from the shadows. Not only Mustang, but several other elders also stepped out. However, no one paid any attention to them. The gazes of the crowd were all focused on Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian placed Fan Le down, as he stared at Morong Fong. Upon seeing the bloodthirsty look in Qin Wentian's eyes, Morong Fong actually felt a trace of fear. Even the power of his bloodline limit was trembling slightly. Boom! Qin Wentian stepped out, filled with a boundless killing intent as he dashed towards Morong Fong and Du Hao. Morong Fong and Du Hao's countenances sank, as they too dashed towards Qin Wentian. At this point, they couldn't afford to lose. Die! Qin Wentian roared once more. The revolving sea imprint shone with a towering killing intent as it lunged towards Morong Fong and Du Hao. The attacks of the two were instantly engulfed by the revolving sea imprint as they were flung through the air. The qi and blood in their bodies churned violently as they coughed out blood. Qin Wentian madly dashed out once more. The countenances of Morong Fong and Du Hao paled as they turned and sprinted down the platform. However, in the blink of an eye, Qin Wentian had already caught up to Du Hao. Du Hao's entire body was flung through the air as he fell heavily onto the ground, unconscious. Too violent. The spectators were all dumbfounded. Today's battle had exceeded everyone's expectations. Qin Wentian's footsteps didn't stop as he continued chasing after Morong Fong. Feeling the killing intent behind him, Morong Feng's countenance was filled with terror. He, the number one student of the Emperor Star Academy, was he going to be killed by this madman today? The revolving sea imprint blasted out once again. Qin Wentian was filled with rage as he attacked. The terrifying palm imprint wanted to tear Morong Feng's body apart. Stop! However, at this moment, a loud roar rang out in the air. A silhouette descended from the sky and slashed out with a gigantic palm. The revolving sea imprint instantly shattered as a terrifying hurricane directly blasted Qin Wentian away. Qin Wentian got up from the ground and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Looking at the figure in front of him, his killing intent surged. Janus! Bastard, you actually dare to be so ruthless, once again attacking a fellow disciple. Jiangjin angrily roared, his gaze sharp. Qin Wentian stared at him, his killing intent surging as he coldly stated, earlier when they attacked me, you didn't appear at all. Your disciple, Orkan, said that the battle has not ended and nobody is allowed to interfere. Now that you've appeared, it's truly a good time. Qin Wentian's voice was cold to the extreme, not giving any face to Janus. At this moment, Morong Fong, who was standing behind Janus, was still in a state of shock. His gaze was filled with fear as he stared at Qin Wentian. Janus, as an elder of the Emperor Star Academy, you actually dared to act against my disciple. How shameless. Mustang slowly walked over to the side of Qin Wentian, glaring at Janus. Elder Thousand Hands, isn't it about time for you to come out? Janus spoke. Momentarily, a silhouette soared through the air. It was none other than Elder Thousand Hands of the Disciplinary Institute. Luo Huan also walked out. She stared at Thousand Hands as she asked, Elder Thousand Hands, during a fair battle, consuming medicinal pills to increase one's combat prowess. Not only that, his methods were ruthless, wanting to cripple a fellow disciple. How should we handle this? Thousand Hands bitterly smiled, feeling extremely depressed. He had watched the entire battle from the start to the end. Honestly speaking, he was extremely shocked by the talent of both Qin Wentian and Morong Fong. Both of them were so outstanding, especially Qin Wentian. However, if something were to happen to Morong Fong, it would be a loss to the academy as well. Once again, he had to face the same situation as before. Elder Thousand Hands, this battle shall end here. In any case, there was no rule stating that one couldn't use certain methods during the battle. Morong Fong was defeated, and the Knights Association will pay the wager. However, Qin Wentian was so ruthless towards Du Hao, and even tried to kill Janus. Shouldn't he be punished? Janus stared at Thousand Hands as he spoke, his countenance cold and detached. If he won, he wouldn't allow others to interfere. But if he lost, the old bastard stepped out. What a joke. If I give up today, how can I face my brother? Qin Wentian stepped out, continuing towards Murong Feng. Janus' countenance sank as he moved in front of Qin Wentian, blocking his path. You don't know what's good for you, and you even disregard your elders. You have no manners at all. Old bastard. Qin Wentian continued walking forwards, staring at Janus. Upon hearing Qin Wentian's insults, Janus's aura grew colder and colder. Today, I'll have to be impudent for once. Mustang slowly walked out, dashing towards Janus as he indifferently stated to Qin Wentian, "Leave him to me." Mustang, how dare you? Janus stared at Mustang as his countenance stiffened. Mustang directly dashed towards him, intending to make a move. A battle between elders of the Emperor Star Academy was an extremely rare sight. But today, the students of the Emperor Star Academy had witnessed it. Return to the Knights Association. Orkan shouted to Murong Feng, as he led the members of the Knights Association away from here. Qin Wentian glanced at Luo Huan and the rest as he asked, "Senior sister, can you help me with something?" Upon hearing Qin Wentian's words, the corners of Luo Huan's lips curled up in an enchanting smile as she replied, "Today, the battle between the Knights Association and the Green Cloud Association has yet to end. Since the Knights Association has openly interfered, our Green Cloud Association will definitely not be a pushover." After which, they madly sprinted towards the direction of the members of the Knights Association. Qin Wentian similarly stepped out, causing great waves to surge in the hearts of the crowd as they followed after Qin Wentian. Chaos, everything is in chaos. Thousand Hands bitterly laughed as he witnessed this scene. He could only chase after them. The members of the Knights Association retreated to a separate manner, only to see the members of the Green Cloud Association charging towards them. This caused Orkan's countenance to turn extremely unsightly. What intolerable bullying, let's fight. Orkan's countenance flickered with a cold light as he frenziedly released his astral souls. Both sides directly engaged in a fierce battle, while Qin Wentian's gaze landed on Murong Feng, his killing intent surging violently. Boom! Qin Wentian madly sprinted forward once again. Help him clear the path. Luo Huan commanded. After which, Yu Fei and Mountain stood on the left and right of Qin Wentian, releasing their astral souls. The two of them were also members of the Green Cloud Association. Qin Wentian's speed was exceedingly fast. Whenever someone attacked from the side, Yu Fei's sword and Mountain's violent attacks would instantly be unleashed. Both of them entered a berserk state, disregarding everything to attack. Murong Feng's countenance turned unsightly as he turned and fled once again. The astral energy in Qin Wentian's body flowed through his arterial pathways and into his legs. Qin Wentian's speed was even faster than Murong Feng's, and in the blink of an eye, he had already caught up to Murong Feng. With a howl of rage, he blasted out with the dragon-subduing fist, instantly slamming into Murong Feng's back, causing him to fall to the ground. Murong Feng turned, only to see a gigantic foot stomping down on his chest, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. "Stay your hand." A loud voice rang out. Janus soared through the air, directly appearing in front of Qin Wentian. Glaring at Qin Wentian, he coldly stated, "This is the second time, and this time, it's the #1 student of the Emperor Star Academy." As he spoke, Janus took a step forward, as a terrifying pressure bore down on Qin Wentian. "Try and touch him if you dare." Mustang chased after Janus, landing behind Qin Wentian. From afar, there was a continuous stream of people madly sprinting over, their hearts pounding. This was indeed the second time, and it was very similar to the time when Orphan was killed. #1 student. Now, he is no longer the #1. Qin Wentian stared at Janus as he continued, Murong Feng and Du Hao's auras surged at the same time. Don't tell me that they didn't consume any medicinal pills, and used such despicable methods to cripple me and Fan Lo. The members of the Knights Association didn't allow others to participate, and neither you nor the elder from the disciplinary hall stepped out to stop them. In that case, no one can stop me now. I won't allow you to do it a second time. Janice continued stepping forwards. This time around, the main character, Morong Fong, was even more outstanding compared to Orphan. Today, I'm really going to do it. Qin Wentian spat out. After which, he stared at Orkan and the rest as he coldly stated, the first time was to kill me in the dark forest, the second time was in the City of Illusions, the third time was on the battle platform earlier. If you guys aren't afraid, why should I be afraid? Qin Wentian's killing intent surged as he lowered his head and stared at Morong Fong. Whoever dares to touch my brother's people, no matter who you are, I will kill you. Qin Wentian roared, as the revolving sea imprint blasted out once again, transforming into a terrifying gigantic imprint that slammed into Morong Feng's head. The result was self-evident. The former number 1 student of the Emperor Star Academy was slain by Qin Wentian, right in front of Janice. You're courting death. The killing intent radiating from Janice grew even more intense. Qin Wentian stared at him without fear as he stated, since I can kill him today, I will be able to kill you within a few years. So, if you have the guts, kill me now. If not, don't provoke me. After speaking, Qin Wentian turned and left, leaving behind a stunned Janice. Since I can kill him today, I will be able to kill you within a few years. So, if you have the guts, kill me now. If not, don't provoke me. Janice was so angry that his body was trembling. Other than anger, there was also a hint of fear in the depths of his heart. The expression in the eyes of the youth was so cold, so resolute. Chapter 62. Just like that, Qin Wentian left in a dignified manner, rushing into the territory of the Knights Association and killing the number 1 student, Morong Fong. The members of the Green Cloud Association began to retreat, only to see Luo Huan speaking to Orkan. There's no need for me to say anything more about the outcome of this battle. Where's the wager of the Knights Association? Wager? Orkan's countenance was ice cold. Qin Wentian has killed his fellow students multiple times. If the Emperor Star Academy doesn't punish him, where would the prestige of the disciplinary board go? I still remember that before the battle started, Morong Fong and Du Hao had already expressed their stance. If they died in battle, it would be because of their incompetence, and there was no need for the academy to pursue the matter. I'm sure that all the students and elders of the Emperor Star Academy who were present heard this. Luo Huan laughed as she continued, naturally, if the Knights Association wants to renege on their debt, our Green Cloud Association would have nothing to say. However, the lesson this time around was truly satisfying. After speaking, Luo Huan led the members of the Green Cloud Association away, her heart filled with worry. That little fellow was truly crazy. This time around, the one he killed was a genius. Who knew if the higher-ups of the Emperor Star Academy would be infuriated by this? Qin Wentian didn't think too much about it. He was only a 16-year-old youth, and when he saw his own brother suffering such a heavy injury in order to save him, he had already lost his rationality. His only goal was to kill Morong Fong. Very obviously, he had accomplished it. After which, Qin Wentian handed Fan Lu over to Mustang. Morong Feng's punch was extremely ferocious, and although Fan Lu had blocked a portion of the force, he had still suffered heavy injuries. Qin Wentian followed Mustang to his residence. At this moment, he was sitting cross-legged in the training grounds. The terrifying energy within his body felt as though it wanted to devour all of his internal organs, causing his entire body to turn bright red. The energy was simply too tyrannical, and his body was currently unable to withstand it. Qin Wentian had no choice but to follow Mustang to his residence. Before breaking through to Yuanfu, you are not allowed to use acupuncture. Qin Wentian recalled Uncle Black's words. He only felt a burning sensation in his throat as he coughed out a mouthful of fresh blood. With a groan of misery, Qin Wentian fainted. Although Qin Wentian had fainted, the storm had not yet subsided. It was still brewing, and even Thousand Hands was under immense pressure. He had no choice but to look for Mustang and bring Qin Wentian away. 2 days later, when Qin Wentian woke up, he felt pain all over his body as if it was about to fall apart. Sitting up, he saw Mustang standing there with his back facing him. "Teacher!" Qin Wentian called out. Mustang turned his head as a smile appeared on his face. "You've finally awoken. It's best if you don't use that secret art again in the future. Your body isn't able to withstand it, and if it weren't for the fact that you managed to suppress it with medicinal pills in time, I'm afraid you would have been in grave danger." Qin Wentian nodded. "Thank you, teacher. How is Fan Lo?" "Nothing serious happened to him." Mustang shook his head. "You should worry more about yourself. Janice's faction has exerted quite a bit of pressure on the academy. Currently, there are 2 different voices in the academy, and there are many who wish to punish you." Upon hearing that Fan Lo was fine, a smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face. As for the punishment from the academy, he didn't really care about it. Seeing the smile on Qin Wentian's face, Mustang rolled his eyes. "Aren't you worried at all?" "It's useless even if I'm worried. Since I've already done it, I'll admit it. Whatever happens next, I can only face it head-on." Qin Wentian shrugged his shoulders. "What a good, admit it, I hope you can bear the consequences." At this moment, a cold voice drifted over. After which, Qin Wentian saw several people walking in. Only now did Qin Wentian survey his surroundings. This place was the disciplinary hall of the disciplinary hall. It was extremely spacious, and there were many seats on both sides of the hall. The main seat was for the disciplinary elder, but at this moment, there was no one there. Very quickly, quite a number of people arrived. Qin Wentian's sharp senses discovered that these people were divided into 3 camps. Janice was in one camp, Mustang and the other disciplinary elders were in another camp, and Thousand Hands and the other 2 disciplinary elders were in another camp. Evidently, Janice and the others were pressuring the academy for this matter. Killing fellow disciples twice, and both of them were geniuses of this year's batch. Not only that, Du Hao was heavily injured. Qin Wentian's character isn't righteous. Either he's crippled, or he's expelled from the academy. If not, he will only become a scourge in the future. Janice coldly stated, wanting to push Qin Wentian into a corner. "The first time, we've already investigated. Orphan wanted to harm Qin Wentian and Du Hao in the dark forest. Since Qin Wentian had done so, what crime is he guilty of? The second time, during a fair duel, Morong Fong and Du Hao consumed medicinal pellets to increase their combat prowess. If they only wanted to obtain victory, that would be fine. But from Qin Wentian's injuries, it's clear that their goal was to kill Fan Lo and Qin Wentian. What crime is Qin Wentian's actions?" Mustang stared at Janice as he refuted. He didn't respect the elders of the academy, and even threatened them with words. "What's the point of teaching such a scoundrel?" Janice coldly retorted. "You taught me." Qin Wentian laughed as he looked at Janice, causing Janice's countenance to stiffen. "Am I very familiar with you?" Qin Wentian continued, "You allowed your disciple to kill me, and even used all sorts of methods to get the academy to punish me. And now, you still have the cheek to ask me to respect you. Your skin is really thick." Just like what Qin Wentian had said, since Janice had plotted so much to deal with him, there was no need for him to be polite with him. "Elder Thousand Hands, listen to this yourself." Janice coldly snorted. Thousand Hands and the other 2 turned their gazes onto Qin Wentian. After which, the elder standing beside Thousand Hands asked, "If your strength was stronger than Janice, would you have killed him when he obstructed you from killing Morong Fong?" "I would." Qin Wentian replied without any hesitation, causing Janice's countenance to turn extremely ugly to behold. "Why?" that elder asked again. Murong Feng injured my brother. Whoever obstructs me will be my enemy. A resolute expression could be seen on the face of the youth. That elder nodded his head, before turning his gaze to Thousand Hands. Thousand Hands swept a glance at the crowd before saying, "Leave, the disciplinary committee will handle this matter." "What does the disciplinary committee intend to do?" Janice inquired. "This is a matter for the disciplinary committee to handle, please leave." Thousand Hands' words caused Janice to furrow his brows. From Thousand Hands' tone, it was highly possible that he wouldn't do anything to Qin Wentian. "I hope that the disciplinary committee can give us an explanation." Janice flicked his sleeves and left, appearing extremely displeased. Mustang patted Qin Wentian on his shoulder as he left as well. He believed that the disciplinary committee wouldn't do anything to Qin Wentian. At the very least, a genius like him wouldn't be expelled from the academy. After they left, Thousand Hands spoke to Qin Wentian, "Follow me." As he spoke, he slowly walked out of the disciplinary hall. Qin Wentian could only follow behind, not asking any questions. After exiting, Qin Wentian discovered that the back of the disciplinary hall was against a mountain. Thousand Hands actually led him up the mountain, arriving at a courtyard at the waist of the mountain. This courtyard was actually built on the edge of a precipice, and standing at the edge of the precipice, one could overlook the entire Emperor Star Academy. At this moment, there was a silhouette with his hands clasped behind his back, staring down at the Emperor Star Academy. "I've brought him here." Thousand Hands gazed at the back of the silhouette, as traces of respect could be seen in his eyes. "Little fellow, come here." That person's back was still facing Qin Wentian as he calmly spoke. Qin Wentian glanced at Thousand Hands, only to see him laughing. "Little fellow, your luck isn't bad." After speaking, Thousand Hands turned and left. His mission was to send Qin Wentian here. Qin Wentian walked towards the edge of the precipice, arriving at the side of the silhouette. Only then did the silhouette turn and look at Qin Wentian. This silhouette was an old man. He looked calm and peaceful, with a few strands of white hair on both sides of his temples. His eyes were immeasurably deep, as though he had experienced the vicissitudes of life. At this moment, a hint of a smile could be seen flickering in his eyes. "I like people who don't abide by the rules. You suit my personality very well." That silhouette laughed as he continued, "My name is Ren Qianqing. You might not have heard of my name before, but you should have heard of my deeds. Because, I once did the same thing as you." "What did you do?" A puzzled expression appeared on Qin Wentian's face. "Killing a fellow disciple." Ren Qianqing laughed as he continued, "That was something that happened many years ago. I still remember when I was young, I entered the dreamscape of the Dream Sky Forest and discovered a lecherous fellow. He raped a female student in the Dream Sky Forest, causing her to have a mental breakdown after she woke up. In a fit of rage, I killed that person." Qin Wentian's countenance trembled as a hint of anger flashed in his eyes. Humiliating someone in the dreamscape of the Dream Sky Forest? How vicious. In that case, Senior was one of the 3 people who killed that person. Since you killed someone because of that, the Academy has no reason to punish Senior, right? Qin Wentian asked. Ren Qianqing shook his head, "I'm not like you. Back then, my talent was mediocre, and the person I killed had a higher talent than me. In this world, what others see is not fairness and justice. Not only that, the Emperor Star Academy has its own rules. In the Dream Sky Forest, you can do anything you want. Even killing someone is a common occurrence." Chapter 63. Qin Wentian nodded his head in agreement. In the world of cultivation, there was indeed no such thing as fairness and justice. Back then when he killed Orphan, if it wasn't for his outstanding talent, how could the Emperor Star Academy spare him? However, even though the world is like this, humans still have to have their own beliefs. I admire people with character, even if they don't abide by the rules, but I hate those who are too egotistical. These kinds of people would only care about their own benefits. For example, if the Emperor Star Academy nurtured them, and one day, they would become a powerhouse, and if someone offered them greater benefits, they would destroy the Emperor Star Academy. Ren Qianqing laughed as he continued, "But you are different. Last year, during the sacrificial ceremony, the Yi clan wanted to destroy the Qin clan. You could have joined the Star River Association, but you didn't. Instead, you chose to advance and retreat together with the Qin clan. Although you are a little foolish, this is the personality I like." This matter was known by everyone in Sky Harmony City. Mustang was also in Sky Harmony City back then, so it wasn't surprising that Ren Qianqing knew about it. A smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face as he asked, "Seems like Senior's philosophy is similar to Teacher Mustang's. Is Senior the headmaster?" "No." Ren Qianqing shook his head. "I'm the second person, the one who was imprisoned for many years. Naturally, since it's just a rumor, you can't believe it completely. It's just that I rarely appear in the public eye. Seems like the Emperor Star Academy has many secrets." Qin Wentian silently mused. "Senior, I've caused quite a bit of trouble this time around. I'm afraid I've caused trouble for the Emperor Star Academy." Qin Wentian shifted his gaze onto Ren Qianqing. "You want to know how the Emperor Star Academy will handle this matter, as well as the reason why they called you here, right?" Ren Qianqing's eyes gleamed with wisdom, causing Qin Wentian to smile awkwardly. "This little bit of trouble is nothing to the Emperor Star Academy, but you've caused so much trouble for yourself." Ren Qianqing casually replied, "The Emperor Star Academy has a history of over a few thousand years. Regardless of elders or students, their way of doing things is different. But precisely because of this, the students of the Academy have a strong sense of competition. This is the only way the Academy is complete. The Emperor Star Academy has never imparted ideals to its students. It only teaches cultivation, and doesn't care what kind of person you will become in the future. This is precisely the reason why the Emperor Star Academy has such a transcendent status. The matter between you and Orkan, the Emperor Star Academy will not interfere. This place is merely a platform. How high you can soar, will depend on yourselves." Ren Qianqing laughed, "As for the reason why I invited you here, it's because I wanted to see what kind of person you are. Now that I've met you, you can go back now." "Ah." Qin Wentian blinked. "That's it? What do you want?" Ren Qianqing looked into Qin Wentian's eyes and smiled. "And here I thought that I would be pleasantly surprised after meeting a legendary character of the Academy." Qin Wentian rubbed his chin as he laughed. "Haha." Ren Qianqing laughed uproariously. "Fine, if you want a surprise, I'll give it to you." Ren Qianqing retrieved a small golden sword the size of a finger, yet it exuded a terrifying sharpness. "This is the Gold Punisher Sword, a third-level divine weapon. However, it can only be used once. As long as the divine imprints within are activated, the Gold Punisher Sword will explode forth with a terrifying sword chi. If the sword chi completely hits the target, even a cultivator at the 5th level of Yuanfu wouldn't be able to evade it. The area of effect of the sword chi is extremely wide, so you must be careful when using it." A sharp glint of light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. What a precious gift. He himself knew that if it was a third-level divine weapon, he wouldn't be able to unleash its full power. However, this Gold Punisher Sword was different. It was a single-use divine weapon, and could be used as a life-saving trump card. "In the Academy, I won't give you any special privileges. If you want resources, you have to fight for them yourself. There are many terrifying innate techniques and cultivation arts in the Heavenly Star Pavilion. If you have the ability, go and get them yourself. As for the Gold Punisher Sword, I gave it to you because you are not safe in the royal capital. Unless you are in a life-or-death situation, don't use it." "Many thanks, old Ren." Qin Wentian felt gratitude in his heart. Indeed, he needed such a life-saving trump card. After all, there were many people who wanted his life. Not to mention the royal clan and the Yi clan, he wouldn't even be able to deal with Orkhan. You can go, but don't tell anyone that you've met me, including Mustang. Ren Qianqing waved his hands at Qin Wentian. Wentian shall take his leave. Qin Wentian bowed slightly to Ren Qianqing before turning and departing. On the face of the youth, a smile as bright as the sun could be seen. It was hard to imagine that such a youth would have the same craziness as when he killed Morong Fong that day. Staring at the departing back view of the youth, the corners of Ren Qianqing's mouth curled up in a smile. This little fellow was even more interesting than him in the past. You really can't stay idle. At this moment, a silhouette drifted over from the void. How is it? Are you prepared to include him in your plans? That person laughed. Ren Qianqing shifted his gaze to the person who had just arrived. There shouldn't be any problems with his talent. As for his character, at least from the looks of it now, there shouldn't be any problems. He just entered the academy not too long ago and already caused such a huge commotion. Aren't you worried that he would become another him? That person laughed. Young and frivolous, it's not a big deal. Wasn't I the same when I was young? As for what you said, I will consider it. Let's just continue to observe. Ren Qianqing shook his head as a bitter smile appeared on his face. Back then, he had also regarded a youth highly. But in the end, he discovered that he had raised a ferocious wolf that had almost brought a calamity to the Emperor Star Academy. As he thought of this, his heart couldn't help but ache. Back then, he had regarded that fellow with great importance. But the things that happened afterwards caused him to feel bitter and bitter. After Qin Wentian descended the mountain, he headed back to his residence. As he walked through the academy, several gazes landed on him, as expressions of interest could be seen on their faces. It's Qin Wentian. I heard that he was sent to the disciplinary hall, but today, he walked out unscathed. Evidently, the academy has no plans to punish him. Talent is a privilege. If it was a higher year student who killed a genius like Morong Fong, the consequences would be dire. However, Qin Wentian defeated Morong Fong head-on. Not only that, he jumped levels to do so. Not only that, his talent is even stronger than Morong Feng's. The title of the top ranker amongst the new students has already changed hands. Within the academy, many people were whispering to each other. If this was the case, things were getting more and more interesting. Janus and the Knights Association would definitely be infuriated. They would definitely not let Qin Wentian off so easily. Qin Wentian quickened his pace as he walked towards his residence. Even before he arrived, he had already called out, "Fatty." Fan Li's head popped out as he walked towards Qin Wentian. "Fatty, how's your injury?" Qin Wentian contemplated Fan Lu, only to see Fan Lu grinning as he replied, "It's nothing serious. Why don't we take a walk around the academy? It's good that you're fine." Qin Wentian couldn't help but have a look of bewilderment on his face when he saw the flickering look in Fan Li's eyes. At this moment, a light sound drifted out from within the room. "Who's inside?" Qin Wentian asked as his eyes flickered. "Little rascal is moving around inside, let's go." Fan Lu pulled Qin Wentian along, but Qin Wentian didn't budge. Instead, he walked towards the dormitory, and very quickly, he saw a silhouette walking out with his head lowered. Sheena's dainty hands clutched onto her robes, her face flushed red. She lifted her head and sneaked a glance at Qin Wentian, and upon seeing the stunned expression on Qin Wentian's face, her face instantly turned boiling hot. "It's not what you think, I'm only here to see him." Sheena stuttered. "I understand." Qin Wentian looked at Sheena and nodded his head, causing Sheena's face to turn even redder. Stomping her feet, she glared at Fan Lu, "It's all your fault." After speaking, she turned and walked away, leaving Qin Wentian staring at Fan Lu with a dumbfounded expression on his face. He was still worried about Fatty on the way here, but it seemed like his worries were all for naught. "Fatty, you're really something." Qin Wentian flashed a thumbs up. "Although I know you won't believe me no matter what I say, I still have to say it. I really don't have any other feelings for Sheena." Fatty stared at the shameless expression on Qin Wentian's face as he suddenly put on a serious expression. "Actually, the person I like, is you." Qin Wentian's face was filled with black lines. This time around, it was Fatty's turn to laugh shamelessly as he hummed a little tune. Qin Wentian was completely defeated. "Let's go to the glory courtyard to raise the grade of our Emperor Star Jade medallions." Fan Lo lifted his foot, as a smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face. After which, the two of them went to the glory courtyard, where the elders directly raised the grade of their Emperor Star Jade medallions to the 3rd grade. Although that battle had caused great waves of commotion, Qin Wentian and Fan Lo had indeed gained the upper hand when they fought against Murong Feng and Du Hao. Naturally, the two of them replaced their opponents in the rankings, becoming the top 3. Hence, they could directly raise the grade of their Emperor Star Jade medallions. After raising the grade of their medallions, the two of them went to the Heavenly Star Pavilion. A 3rd grade Jade medallion would allow them to enter the 3rd level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion. The Heavenly Star Pavilion was divided into 9 levels, and each level contained many cultivation arts and innate techniques of different grades. Qin Wentian and Fan Lo directly went to the 3rd level. The cultivation arts here were all at the peak of the arterial circulation realm, while the innate techniques were all at the high grade of the mortal realm. The Dragon Subduing Fist was a high-grade human-grade innate technique. In the hearts of the students of the Emperor Star Academy, there was a question. What was above the 6th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion? Stepping into the 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion was the dream of every student in the Emperor Star Academy. It was said that once upon a time, there was a person who had accomplished an astonishing feat. However, that person betrayed the Emperor Star Academy and almost caused the destruction of the Emperor Star Academy. The Emperor Star Academy had never mentioned this part of history. Chapter 64. On the 3rd level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion, ancient bookshelves were neatly arranged within the spacious space. On top of these bookshelves, there were many different types of secret manuals. Top-tier arterial circulation cultivation arts as well as top-tier mortal innate techniques. These are extremely rare even in Sky Harmony City. Here, there's an endless supply of them, and you can choose whatever you want to cultivate. Qin Wentian sighed. This was the power of resources. Other than the innate talent of the disciples nurtured by the major powers, it couldn't be separated from the vast amount of resources they had. Qin Wentian didn't choose any cultivation arts, but rather, searched for the innate techniques he wanted. Falling Mountain Palms, Willow Leaves Movement Technique, Imperial Sword Art. Upon seeing the Imperial Sword Art, Qin Wentian's eyes lit up as he called out, "Fatty, come over here." Fan Lo walked over, as Qin Wentian passed the Imperial Sword Art to him. You have the innate talent bestowed by your astral soul, and is extremely suitable for controlling objects. This Imperial Sword Art is a beginner-level innate technique. Are you interested? Let me take a look. Fan Lo received the Imperial Sword Art, as his eyes shone with a bright light. Qin Wentian continued searching. Now that he had cultivated the Dragon Subduing Fist and the Thousand Hands imprint, his attacks were already extremely tyrannical. Hence, he wasn't really interested in tyrannical innate techniques, 9 Heavenly Garuda Movement Technique. Qin Wentian stopped in front of an innate technique, as an expression of interest appeared on his face. A top-tier mortal innate technique from the 3rd level actually had such a tyrannical name, 9 Heavenly Garuda Movement Technique, Arterial Circulation Manual. As he flipped through the manual, Qin Wentian's attention was instantly drawn to it, as a sharp glint of light flickered in his eyes. So it turned out that this secret manual was only the first volume of the Garuda Movement Technique, the Arterial Circulation Manual. Although it was only the Arterial Circulation Manual, it was already incomparably complex. It required one to devour demonic spirits and extract the essence of the demonic beasts to temper the Garuda imprint. Not only that, the 9 heavenly Garuda movement technique only stated that it was the arterial circulation manual, but it didn't specify how many manuals there were. Qin Wentian took the manual and walked to a study table. There was an old man there, the guardian of the 3rd level. "Senior, does this set of Garuda movement technique have a Yuanfu scroll?" Qin Wentian asked as he pointed upwards. The old man glanced at Qin Wentian as he laughed. "I advise you not to cultivate this innate technique. Although there's a Yuanfu manual on it, it's located on the 6th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion. You don't know how long it would take for you to reach that level. Not only that, this innate technique is extremely difficult to cultivate. Even if you want to reach the grand completion stage of the arterial circulation manual, you'd still have to hunt many bird-type demonic beasts and refine them into the imprint of the Garuda. Moreover, it is very difficult to comprehend this divine ability." Qin Wentian knew that the old man meant well. He smiled and asked, "Are there any better movement techniques on the 3rd floor of the Heavenly Star Pavilion? If I can successfully cultivate the 9 heavens Garuda skill, the other skills on this level will naturally be incomparable." The old man shook his head. However, it was extremely difficult to cultivate it. "Understood, thank you senior for dispelling my doubts." Qin Wentian laughed as he continued searching for innate techniques. Initially, he wanted to cultivate an innate technique that was compatible with his great dream's astral soul. However, after searching the entire level, he still couldn't find one. This type of dream-related innate technique was simply too rare, and because he didn't have a compatible innate technique, his great dream's astral soul wasn't able to unleash its full potential. Naturally, even if he didn't have a dream-related innate technique, his great dream's astral soul was still an astral soul from the 5th heavenly layer. The astral energy it emitted was still extremely tyrannical. In the end, Qin Wentian only chose to borrow the Garuda movement technique. As for Fan Lo, other than the Imperial Sword technique, he also borrowed another innate technique before leaving the Heavenly Star Pavilion. Just as Qin Wentian and Fan Lo were on their way back, they were blocked. The members of the Knights Association blocked their path. Upon seeing the faces of these people, Fan Li's eyes narrowed in an extremely cold manner. These people were none other than the ones who had used a long spear to pierce through his body back then in the City of Illusions. They were all elites of the Knights Association, and even the weakest among them was stronger than Murong Feng. Their countenances were as cold as ice, and several students of the Emperor Star Academy were spectating from afar. That day, Qin Wentian went berserk and killed Murong Feng from the Knights Association. Not only that, he even killed his way into the headquarters of the Knights Association. This caused the reputation of the Knights Association to fall to the ground. Not only that, the Academy didn't even punish him, and directly released Qin Wentian. The members of the Knights Association were naturally infuriated. Not only that, the members of the Knights Association were originally a bunch of geniuses from the aristocratic clans. All along, they were the ones who trampled on others. But today, they were trampled on. This was no longer a matter between Orkan and Qin Wentian, but a matter that concerned the dignity of the entire Knights Association. That old fellow from the Emperor Star Academy actually released you just like that. Standing in front of Qin Wentian was a young man with a smile on his face. However, when this smile landed on Qin Wentian, it felt somewhat cold. "How impolite of you." Upon hearing the other party directly referring to the old fellow from the Emperor Star Academy, Qin Wentian's lips curled up, as a sharp aura radiated from him. "Where's Orkan?" Qin Wentian inquired. "Orkan?" The eyes of the young man flickered. The arrogant Orkan, because of the matter regarding Qin Wentian, had been locked up by his clan, and was not allowed to come out until he broke through to the 9th level of arterial circulation. Qin Wentian was the foster son of Qin Chuan of the Qin clan in Sky Harmony City. Back then, it was rumored that he had killed Yi Lang. In their eyes, Qin Wentian was someone who looked down on the descendants of the Wu king. Sometimes, they couldn't understand why the current emperor and the Yi clan were so insistent on wiping out the Qin clan. They had heard that the Qin clan was so poor that they didn't even have a few yuan meteor stones. But it was precisely this adopted son of the Qin clan who possessed extraordinary talent. He stood in the Emperor Star Academy and killed Orkhan's brother, Orphan, as well as Murong Feng from the Knights Association. What was even funnier was that an ant whom they once thought they could easily squash, had actually obtained the favor of the Emperor Star Academy. If they wanted to kill him, they would have to consider the attitude of the Emperor Star Academy. After all, they were very clear that the waters of the Emperor Star Academy were extremely deep. Even the royal clan didn't dare to touch them, and could only do their best to nurture the Royal Academy, hoping that they would be able to contend against the Emperor Star Academy. Orkhan must be thinking about how to kill you right now. The young man spat out, causing Qin Wentian's eyes to narrow. After which, a cold smile appeared on his face. The words of the young man made sense. Wasn't he the same? He wanted Orkhan's life as well. You killed a member of our Knights Association. Make a guess, how will we deal with you? The young man continued. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu stared at the members of the Knights Association in front of them. Their gazes were akin to that of venomous snakes, as they scrutinized their bodies. The eyes of Qin Wentian and Fan Lu narrowed as they felt the coldness emanating from the young man. Although they were also thinking about how to kill the young man, their current strength was still inferior to the young man. What a pity, the Emperor Star Academy doesn't allow killing. If not, you would have already died countless times over. The young man took a step forward, and abruptly, a terrifying killing intent gushed towards Qin Wentian and Fan Lu. At the same time, the members of the Knights Association also took a step forward, as an incomparably tyrannical pressure bore down on Qin Wentian and Fan Lu. Both of them involuntarily retreated, as their countenances turned unsightly. The royal capital is not the Sky Harmony City. You will understand that even if you have some talent, you still have to keep a low profile. If not, you will die very quickly. That pitiful talent of yours will never be of any use. The young man took another step forward, causing the ground to rumble. The pressure he exuded was akin to the sharpness of a spear, piercing into Qin Wentian and Fan Li's bodies. The threat in his words was blatant and undisguised. No matter how talented a person was, if they couldn't mature, what use would they be? Stay your hand. At this moment, a shout drifted over from afar. The members of the Knights Association turned their gazes over, only to see a graceful silhouette walking over. Senior Sister Rain. A gentle smile appeared on the young man's face when he saw who it was. So it turned out that this silhouette was a Yuanfu realm student of the Emperor Star Academy, as well as a guest elder, Rain. Yanaro, as an upperclassman, you actually dare to bully a newbie? Rain unhappily stated. Despite hearing Rain's reprimand, the smile on Yanaro's face was still as gentle as ever. This newbie is an extremely arrogant person. I only wanted him to understand some logic, but since Senior Sister has spoken, then, as the sound of his voice faded, Yanaro's silhouette abruptly moved. Qin Wentian instantly felt a sense of danger, only to see Yanaro's finger piercing towards him, as sharp as a sword. You. Rain's countenance changed when she saw this scene. She wanted to stop it, but it was already too late. Qin Wentian's countenance stiffened, and the energy within his body instantly gushed forth. The revolving sea imprint was incomparably tyrannical, yet Yanaro's finger seemed to be able to penetrate through everything, as it shone with a resplendent light, breaking apart the revolving sea imprint and directly piercing into Qin Wentian's palm. After doing all this, Yanaro's silhouette retreated in a graceful manner, while Qin Wentian also retreated backwards. Lifting his palm, Qin Wentian could see fresh blood flowing out unceasingly from his palm. His countenance involuntarily grew colder and colder. I hope you will be this lucky every time. Yanaro cast a glance at Rain, who who was standing beside Qin Wentian, before turning around and departing with his group. "Are you alright?" Rain turned to Qin Wentian as she asked. "I'm fine. Thank you, senior sister." Qin Wentian smiled at Rain. Since he had decided to kill Murong Feng back then, he should have known that his future days would not be peaceful. However, he wasn't afraid at all. On the contrary, he was filled with anticipation for these challenges. During these few days, Qin Wentian had already deeply understood a certain principle. Regardless of who was behind him, that person would never be as reliable as himself. Only when one's own strength was sufficient, would they be able to control their own destiny. Chapter 65. Rain stared at the departing members of the Knights Association as she continued, "Qin Wentian, although the Academy regards you highly, you are still too weak. In the future, it's best if you don't antagonize the members of the Knights Association. If there's any conflict between you and the Knights Association, the Academy won't be able to protect you." "Understood." Qin Wentian nodded his head, as he stared at the departing silhouettes. The corners of his lips curled up in an arc, exuding a cold sharpness. His current strength was indeed weak, but unless he was never allowed to make a comeback, he would trample them to death, just like how he dealt with Murong Feng. In any case, the barefooted didn't fear those wearing shoes. No matter what, these people wanted to deal with him. He had no reservations. Right now, he only needed to do one thing, and that was to become stronger. Only when he was strong would he no longer be looked down upon by others. Only when he was strong would he not need to be afraid of the slightest thing. Senior Rain. At this moment, Fan Lo walked towards Rain, as a radiant smile appeared on his face. "What's the matter?" Rain smiled. "Previously, after listening to Senior Rain's lecture, I gained a deep insight. My strength is still too low, and I have many doubts when cultivating. In the future, can I look for Senior Rain to resolve them?" Fan Li's serious expression caused Qin Wentian to be dumbfounded. "Sure, if you have any doubts, feel free to ask me." Rain gently smiled. She looked at Qin Wentian and Fan Lo as though she was looking at her younger brothers. How could she have guessed that Fan Lo would have such wretched thoughts? "Many thanks, senior sister." Fan Li's heart was filled with joy, yet the smile on his face was as bright as the sun. "You guys take care of yourselves, I'll take my leave first." Rain smiled at the two of them as she departed. Qin Wentian noticed that Fan Lo was still staring at Rain's back. He couldn't help but smack him on the head. "Damn fatty, have you seen enough?" "Not enough." Fan Lo grinned, as that wretched expression appeared on his face. He blinked his eyes at Qin Wentian. "Senior Rain is simply a goddess, gentle and kind. I like it. Others are treating you like a little brat." Qin Wentian glanced at Fan Lo with disdain. "Are you that big yourself?" Fan Lo rolled his eyes, but when he thought of Rain's promise, a shameless smile appeared on his face as he hummed a little tune as he walked towards his residence. Qin Wentian returned to his residence and started cultivating the Garuda movement technique. From the arterial circulation scroll, Qin Wentian could already tell that this innate technique was many times more terrifying compared to the Thousand Hands imprint. Could it be that the arterial circulation scroll was already so terrifying? As for the Yuanfu cultivation scroll, it would definitely be an innate technique at the pinnacle of the earth grade. Naturally, there was no need for Qin Wentian to worry about the Yuanfu manual. He only needed to focus on cultivating the arterial circulation manual. The arterial circulation manual of the 9 heavenly Garuda movement technique could be split into 4 levels: elementary, exquisite, perfect, and divine movement. It was easy to enter the gate, there was no need for external conditions. All one had to do was to bitterly cultivate the Garuda's 9 movements of the arterial circulation manual. For the exquisite grade, not only did he need to comprehend it, he also needed to devour the spirits of flying-type demonic beasts, extract their essence, and use the Garuda movement technique to refine it. For the perfect grade in divine movement techniques, one would need to absorb the spirits of large amounts of flying-type demonic beasts. Especially for the divine movement technique. Once one stepped into this level, they would have already successfully condensed the Garuda imprint. With a single leap, they would be able to traverse a distance of 10 meters, akin to a great rock spreading its wings. After stepping into Yuanfu, they would be able to soar through the air. For the following days, Qin Wentian immersed himself in the cultivation of the Garuda movement technique. The difficulty of cultivating the Garuda movement technique was much higher compared to the dragon subduing fist. Other than that, he naturally wouldn't forget about cultivation. To him, raising his cultivation level was an extremely pressing matter. Of course, Qin Wentian would occasionally attend lectures given by the elders of the academy. Unknowingly, the ancient trees in the Dream Sky Forest were no longer as green as they used to be. The scorching heat of the sun shone down upon the Emperor Star Academy, and the cool spring winds were no longer present. The freshmen had already gradually gotten used to the life of a student. Filled with youthful energy, they were filled with boundless hopes and fantasies for the future. Many of them even formed groups and entered the dark forest to undergo the true tempering of death. The training in the City of Illusions had caused them to gradually get used to death, and death no longer seemed as terrifying as before. However, when they truly entered the dark forest and discovered that their companions had died in front of them, they discovered that their hearts weren't as strong as they had imagined. That was a true death, and not a feigned death in the City of Illusions. Although they were students of the Emperor Star Academy, this was a place where the strong preyed on the weak. It was extremely normal for them to die while training in the wilderness. However, it was precisely this kind of tempering that tempered their hearts and temperaments. In front of the dormitory, Qin Wentian leaned against an ancient tree as he lazily gazed into the distance. It had already been over 4 months since he arrived in the royal capital, yet there was no news of Qin Wu or Qin Chuan. Although Qin Wentian had never expressed anything, only he knew how anxious he was in his heart. He wasn't even willing to inquire about the current situation of the army led by Qin He. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to accept the ending. He had stayed in the Qin residence for over 10 years. That place was his home. However, ever since the Yi clan led their troops into the Sky Harmony City, the Qin residence was torn to shreds. Qin Wu and Qin Chuan were imprisoned in some unknown place, while Qin He and Qin Yi were fighting a bloody battle. Qin Yao and Qin Ji were far away from home to cultivate, not daring to return home. Only by relying on his outstanding talent could he live a peaceful life in the Emperor Star Academy. However, every step he took was filled with danger. Qin Wentian knew this in his heart. Yi clan. Qin Wentian inclined his head. The sunlight shone through the gaps of the ancient tree, cascading onto his face. However, his gaze was as cold as the edge of a blade. Just like how the Yi clan and Orkan wouldn't spare him, he similarly wouldn't spare the Yi clan and Orkan. I wonder how Sister Qin Yao and the rest are doing in the Snowcloud country. I hope they can grow stronger quickly. Qin Wentian could see a beautiful and gentle countenance in his mind. Qin Wentian. At this moment, a voice interrupted Qin Wentian's train of thought. Turning his gaze over, he saw a youth of similar age walking over. This youth was none other than Zhao Yi, a new student who lived not far away from him. Zhao Yi, what's up? Qin Wentian smiled as he looked at him. Recently, there have been quite a few people heading to the dark forest to temper themselves. You are the strongest amongst the new students, don't tell me you don't have any thoughts about going there. Zhao Yi walked towards Qin Wentian. Although Qin Wentian's talent was extremely high, he was easy to get along with. The people around him all had a good relationship with him. The dark forest. A smile flickered on Qin Wentian's face as he stood up and stretched his body. Smiling, he replied, yes, I'm preparing to make a trip there. The arterial circulation chapter of the 9 Heavenly Garuda movement technique was already at the elementary level. However, if he wanted to advance to the exquisite grade, he would have to hunt and kill flying-type demonic beasts. I also wish to go there to temper myself. How about we go together? Zhao Yi couldn't help but feel joy in his heart upon hearing that Qin Wentian wanted to go as well. His strength had already broken through to the second level of arterial circulation a few days ago, but he was only at the initial level. Although his strength wasn't bad amongst the new students, there was still a gap between him and Qin Wentian. If he could form a group with Qin Wentian, it would be much safer for him. Okay, but you have to be prepared at all times. I'll call you when I set off. Qin Wentian laughed. Zhao Yi naturally agreed happily. That night, Qin Wentian and Fan Lu woke him up and left the Emperor Star Academy together with a snowy puppy. This caused Zhao Yi to be extremely depressed, but he could also guess that Qin Wentian was afraid that the Knights Association would keep an eye on him. By the time Qin Wentian and the rest arrived at the Dark Forest, it was already the second day. There were still many people roaming around the outer perimeter of the Dark Forest. The Dark Forest was the most suitable place for students from the various academies and clans to temper themselves. Naturally, it was also heaven and hell for adventurers. The outer perimeter is filled with low-level demonic beasts. Let's go deeper. Qin Wentian spoke. He cultivated the Garuda movement technique, and demonic beasts below the fourth level were practically useless to him. And if he wanted to hunt demonic beasts of the fourth level or higher, it would be even more troublesome, especially when it came to flying beasts. Hence, it was extremely difficult to cultivate the Garuda movement technique. 3 humans and 1 demonic beast began to dash through the dark forest, as though they were extremely excited. Stop! All of a sudden, Fatty Fan Lu called out. The 3 of them immediately halted their steps, standing at their original location. Because of the astral souls he had condensed, Fan Li's perception was the sharpest. Our luck isn't bad, it's a 4th level flying demonic beast. However, our luck isn't too good either. This 4th level demonic beast is a violet thunder condor, an astral demonic beast. Not only that, it's also eyeing us. Fatty had a bitter expression on his face, causing Zhao Yi's countenance to stiffen. Astral demonic beasts were equivalent to stellar martial cultivators. Not only that, they were the purest type of stellar martial cultivators. They could absorb the energy of the astral constellations in the heavens to grow, and they didn't need to condense an astral soul to directly absorb the energy of the astral constellations they needed. This was the tyrannical innate talent of astral demonic beasts. All astral demonic beasts had the potential to grow, and as they grew, their perception would grow stronger and stronger, allowing them to absorb the energy of the astral constellations in the heavens. For example, this violet thunder condor, when it was young, it would absorb a little bit of astral energy from the astral constellations. As it grew, it would be able to sense constellations that contained the energy of lightning, and from there, it would be able to absorb the energy of the astral constellations. If it continued to grow, it would be able to sense constellations that were of a higher grade, and it would be able to step into the 2nd heavenly layer, or even the 3rd heavenly layer. This was the terrifying aspect of astral demonic beasts. The more monstrous an astral demonic beast was, the more tyrannical its innate talent would be. Hence, astral demonic beasts were equivalent to stellar martial cultivators. And now, they had encountered a 4th level violet thunder condor. Zhao Yi was naturally depressed. Chapter 66. A 4th level demonic beast was equivalent to Wu Xiu, who was at the lower 3 levels of the arterial circulation realm. This violet thunder condor was considered one of the more powerful astral beasts. Its strength was comparable to a 3rd level arterial circulation realm cultivator, and in addition to its ability to fly, it was extremely difficult to deal with. Above the void ancient tree, purple lightning flashed, making crackling sounds. The strands of lightning spread down along the ancient tree, and a cracking sound came out. A huge ancient tree directly exploded, and the brilliance of the lightning continued to flow. Qin Wentian and the rest inclined their heads, only to see a gigantic violet thunder condor hovering above their heads. Its baleful eyes flickered with lightning, treating the three of them as its prey. Chi, chi. A bolt of lightning as thick as an arm shot down from the skies, heading straight for the location where Qin Wentian and the rest were standing. The countenances of Qin Wentian and the rest froze. Their bodies were as swift as the wind, instantly retreating in three different directions. With a thunderous boom, the place they were standing at earlier was blasted apart, leaving behind a huge crater. The tyrannical force of the explosion blasted against their bodies, bringing with it a piercing pain. Boss, you attract the attacks. Qin Wentian's attacks were the strongest, and he was able to defend against the lightning attacks of the violet thunder condor. Good sense of brotherhood. Qin Wentian cursed in a low voice. His entire body was covered in dust, and he turned his gaze towards the skies. Abruptly, another bolt of lightning blasted down. Qin Wentian's footwork was extremely exquisite, and in an instant, his body was like a willow catkin, drifting through the air. The bolt of lightning blasted directly in front of him, yet it didn't manage to touch him in the slightest. Vile creature, come at me. This was the first time Qin Wentian executed the Garuda movement technique in a real battle, as he roared at the violet thunder condor in the skies. The violet thunder condor's eyes gleamed with a ferocious light, as it continuously spat out bolts of lightning. Fuck. Fatty was extremely loyal as he turned and fled, leaping onto an ancient tree. Qin Wentian executed the Garuda's 9 movements to the extreme, and the lightning bolts that came crashing down only grazed past his body, yet they were unable to hit him. Evil creature, continue. Qin Wentian roared in an arrogant manner. The purple thunder condor was getting angrier and angrier. While circling in the air, it let out a shrill screech and swooped down towards Qin Wentian like a bolt of lightning. Bolts of lightning struck down in a frenzy, intending to bury Qin Wentian's body within. So fierce. Fan Lo, who was on a nearby ancient tree, observed a moment of silence for Qin Wentian in his heart as he watched this scene unfold before him. The area where Qin Wentian had been buried was filled with dust, yet the violet thunder condor still refused to give up. It continued swooping down, wanting to devour Qin Wentian's flesh and blood. Amidst the dust, Qin Wentian was in an extremely sorry state. However, at this moment, a cold glint of light flashed in his eyes. At this moment, he was extremely calm, and the divine energy in his body frenziedly surged towards his arms. Rumbling sounds rang out as the revolving sea imprint, which was formed from divine energy, erupted forth. The space around him was filled with a terrifying explosion, and at this moment, Fan Li's 9 arrows shot out simultaneously, transforming into streaks of golden lightning. The purple thunder condor soared into the sky, accompanied by a shrill cry. However, the 9 arrows pierced his body with a terrifying force, and the tyrannical force made it impossible for him to fly up. Die! Yet another revolving sea imprint erupted forth, as the violet thunder condor screeched in agony. His wings flapped weakly as his body plummeted downwards, emitting a thunderous sound. The dust gradually dissipated, and Fan Lo leaped down from the tree. Upon seeing the dust-covered Qin Wentian, he couldn't help but praise, too handsome. Scram! Qin Wentian swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva, causing dust to enter his mouth. Staring at the violet thunder condor on the ground, he sighed in a depressed manner. Using yourself as bait to hunt demonic beasts is truly not an easy task. Other than using such a method, do you still have the ability to fly? Sadly, that little rascal isn't a flying-type demonic beast. Fan Lo glanced at Little Rascal who was standing beside him. Little Rascal stood up on its hind legs, glaring at Fan Lo in an extremely adorable manner. You are already very powerful. If I were to encounter a demonic beast of that level, I'm afraid I would only die. Zhao Yi walked over, feeling depressed in his heart. The disparity between them was too great. Seems like I don't even need to temper myself when I'm together with you guys. Don't worry, if we encounter any demonic beasts on the ground, I'll leave them all to you." Qin Wentian laughed. After which, he used his dagger to split open the skull of the purple thunder condor and extracted a demonic core. This palm-sized demonic core emanated a terrifying amount of lightning energy. This was the demonic core of a fourth-grade demonic beast, and to cultivators who cultivated the lightning attribute, it was extremely valuable. "The demonic core of the flying-type demonic beast will belong to me, and the two of you will belong to the two of you. How about it?" Qin Wentian spoke to Fan Lu and Zhao Yi. Fan Lu naturally wouldn't compete with Qin Wentian, while Zhao Yi was merely a spectator when facing off against the flying-type demonic beast. He didn't have the qualifications to compete with Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian kept the demonic core and stretched out his palms. An imprint appeared in the center of his palms, emitting a tyrannical suction force that directly imprinted itself onto the body of the violet thunder condor. Strands of white light floated into Qin Wentian's palms, transforming into the shadow of the violet thunder condor. The shadow of the violet thunder condor was absorbed into Qin Wentian's palms, before entering Qin Wentian's body. Demonic beasts have spiritual bodies, and possess demonic spirits. The cultivation art I cultivate allows me to devour demonic spirits for my cultivation, and with the assistance of the demonic core, it would be even better. Qin Wentian smiled at the two of them. It wasn't an easy task to cultivate the Garuda movement technique. What a waste of this body. If I could bring it back to the outside world, I would be able to sell it for a good price. After the three of them left, Zhao Yi cast a glance at the gigantic body of the violet thunder condor. The entire body of a powerful demonic beast was a treasure. They continued deeper into the dark forest. Whenever they encountered a demonic beast, Qin Wentian and Fan Lu would leave it to Zhao Yi to handle. They wouldn't lend a hand unless they were in dire straits. After a month, their entire bodies were covered in dirt. However, their demeanor seemed to have undergone some changes. Their eyes were sharper than before, and their strength had also improved. After much difficulty, they finally found a lake. The three of them were like hungry wolves as they dived into the lake, washing off the dirt on their bodies. After which, they set up a fire by the lakeside to dry their clothes. Bare-chested, Qin Wentian sat beneath a tree, cultivating. In his hands was a demonic core, and he unceasingly absorbed the energy within it. On his back, traces of imprints could be seen, transforming into a magnificent diagram that resembled a pair of wings. At the same time, the essence of the demonic core spread throughout his four limbs and bones. Qin Wentian could clearly feel that his body had become lighter. As he continued to absorb the essence of the demonic beasts, he discovered that the effects of the Garuda movement technique were gradually manifesting. Woo woo. At this moment, Qin Wentian saw Little Rascal sprinting over from afar, circling around Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's countenance stiffened as he asked, "You want me to go with you?" Upon hearing that, Little Rascal turned and sped away. Upon seeing this, a strange light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes as he commanded, "Fatty, Zhao Yi, let's move out." After speaking, he draped his clothes over his shoulders and followed after Little Rascal. Fan Lu and Zhao Yi had their hearts filled with suspicion, but they still followed after them. Little Rascal's speed got faster and faster. Qin Wentian and the rest started to run, and soon after, they discovered that Little Rascal had brought them to a valley. The terrain here was extremely steep, and there were many rarely seen trees. "There's someone fighting." Qin Wentian and Fan Lu exchanged glances. Little Rascal brought them up a slope, and when they arrived at the top, their gazes fell onto the valley below. The pupils of Qin Wentian and the rest involuntarily narrowed. Azure Qilin Python. At the bottom of the slope, there were actually many gigantic python demons. Qin Wentian had once encountered these Azure Qilin pythons in the dark forest. The strength of these Azure Qilin pythons was extremely terrifying. Especially one of the gigantic pythons that was coiled around a strange ancient tree. Its head was tilted upwards as it spat out poisonous mist. Many wounds could be seen on its gigantic body. At this moment, there was a group of people fighting against the Azure Qilin pythons. People from the Emperor Star Academy. Zhao Yi's countenance was filled with shock when he saw these people. The majority of these Wuxia's cultivation bases were at the 3rd or 4th level of arterial circulation, and their ages were around 17 to 18 years old. All of them released their astral souls, indicating that they were all stellar martial cultivators. Are you acquainted with them? Qin Wentian asked Zhao Yi, who was standing beside him. That person's name is Logan, a student of the Emperor Star Academy. I've seen him before. Zhao Yi pointed to one of them as he spoke. The aura emitted by that person was at the peak of the 4th level of arterial circulation. They're fighting over the fruits on that ancient tree. Fan Li's eyes narrowed as he stared at the tree guarded by the largest Azure Qilin python. There were several vermilion fruits on the tree, so red that it looked as though they were about to drip blood. Strange flowers and fruits would definitely be guarded by demonic beasts. Seems like the saying is true. What fruit is this? Qin Wentian asked Fan Lu, as he unconsciously glanced at Little Rascal. Little Rascal actually knew to bring them here. Blood Ember Fruit. This kind of fruit has a miraculous effect on Wuxia at the arterial circulation realm. It's able to help arterial circulation realm cultivators break through to the next level. Not only that, it can also be used by an alchemist to concoct a blood ember pill, which would have an even stronger effect. Fan Lu explained in a low voice, causing a fiery light to flash in Qin Wentian's eyes. At the arterial circulation realm, one had to constantly use astral energy to temper their arterial circulation pathways, stimulating their arterial circulation acupoints, causing their arterial circulation pathways to expand unceasingly, allowing the body to store more astral energy, allowing the circulation of astral energy to become smoother. This blood ember fruit could aid arterial circulation realm cultivators in breaking through to the next level. No wonder these people were so crazy about it. However, Logan and the rest were currently in a disadvantageous position. Blood ember fruit. A fiery light flickered in Qin Wentian's eyes as he stared at the vermilion fruit. Currently, he desperately needed to raise his strength. There were too many things waiting for him to do. Chapter 67. Logan was currently fighting against the Azure Qilin python that was guarding the blood ember fruit tree. He similarly saw Qin Wentian and the rest on the hillside, and involuntarily shouted, "Brothers from the Emperor Star Academy, please help us out. This Azure Qilin python is extremely difficult to deal with." Qin Wentian had caused such a huge commotion in the Emperor Star Academy, and there were many who knew of him. That day when you fought against Murong Feng, Logan had personally witnessed it. He knew that Qin Wentian's combat prowess was extremely tyrannical. Should we act? Zhao Yi was itching to give it a try. At this moment, the situation was very clear. Although the students of the Emperor Star Academy were at a disadvantage, they wouldn't be defeated in a short period of time. Logan was fighting alone against the Azure Qilin python, and his chances of victory were extremely slim. Although the Azure Qilin python was heavily injured, Logan's body was riddled with wounds as well. If the battle continued on like this, the entire situation would collapse sooner or later. Only Logan would be able to temporarily suppress the Azure Qilin python. The most important thing is that Azure Qilin python. As long as we deal with it, it would be equivalent to releasing Logan. After that, we can slowly deal with the other Azure Qilin pythons. Fan Lu stated in a low voice. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered. If they were to help Logan deal with the Azure Qilin python, they might not even get a share of the spoils of war. The human heart was hard to fathom, especially when the blood ember fruit was involved. With regards to this point, Qin Wentian had long since experienced it firsthand. "Little rascal, come over here." Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. An instant later, a phantom rushed into his body. After which, Qin Wentian whispered a few words into Little Rascal's ears. After which, Little Rascal leaped off his body and left. Zhao Yi. Qin Wentian stared at Zhao Yi. "What's the matter?" Zhao Yi asked. "You should temporarily leave this place. Staying here might be dangerous," Qin Wentian stated, causing Zhao Yi's countenance to stiffen. A treasure like the blood ember fruit was right in front of him, and now that Qin Wentian wanted him to leave, it was hard for him not to have any thoughts. "If you fall out with Logan, we won't be able to take care of you," Qin Wentian explained. However, Zhao Yi's expression was still very stiff and ugly. He didn't say anything and just turned to leave, as if he was very unhappy. Seeing this scene, Qin Wentian silently shook his head. Not everyone was as carefree as Zhao Yi. He and Zhao Yi had already interacted for so many days, and he had thought that they already had a tacit understanding of each other. But now, it seemed that he had been thinking too much. After all, Zhao Yi's strength was weak. Whether it was against the azure scale python or Logan bow, he didn't have the strength to resist. If he stayed here, it would be very difficult for them to take care of him. For the sake of safety, Qin Wentian allowed him to temporarily leave. However, Zhao Yi's expression instantly changed. Naturally, Qin Wentian didn't bother to explain what he wanted to say to him. "They won't be able to hold on much longer." Fan Lo spoke in a low voice, drawing Qin Wentian's attention back to the present. He saw that Logan was already fighting against the Azure Kirin Python, and was completely suppressed. The students of the Emperor Star Academy were all in a life-threatening situation. "Friend, if we die, you won't be able to defend against these Azure Scale Pythons. If we join forces, we might still have a chance. At that time, we can split the spoils of war together." Logan roared to Qin Wentian and Fan Lo. In such a dangerous situation, Qin Wentian's participation would definitely be of great help. Qin Wentian also understood Logan's words. If they died, he and Fan Lo wouldn't be able to snatch the blood ember fruits away. "Fatty, leave some trump cards behind." Qin Wentian abruptly dashed out, dashing towards the direction of Logan. At the instant he dashed out, Qin Wentian released his archery astral soul. Resplendent arrows instantly shot out in all directions. Long-range archers were proficient in control. A truly powerful archer could kill enemies 1,000 miles away without leaving a single trace. Although Fan Li's arrows weren't strong enough to deal damage to the azure scale pythons, the angles of his arrows were extremely crafty, aiming for the eyes of the azure scale pythons. In the blink of an eye, he was able to control the flow of the battle, preventing them from being defeated so quickly. Qin Wentian's silhouette had already reached the 5th level azure scale python. The strength of this azure scale python was comparable to Wuxia, who was at the 5th level of arterial circulation. Upon seeing Qin Wentian rushing over, the azure scale python directly spat out a mouthful of poisonous mist. Qin Wentian held his breath, only to see the azure scale python's gigantic tail sweeping towards him. Boom! Qin Wentian stomped on the ground, his silhouette turning illusory as the gigantic tail swept past him. Twisting his body, Qin Wentian continued dashing towards the azure scale python. Boom! A diamond imprint directly slammed into the abdomen of the azure scale python, causing it to howl in rage. Lowering its head, it ferociously lunged towards Qin Wentian. 3 resplendent arrows pierced through the air, piercing towards the eyes of the azure scale python. At the same time, Logan's great axe astral soul blossomed with a resplendent light. A divine axe appeared in his hands as he abruptly leapt up, aiming for the vital point of the azure scale python. Qin Wentian's footsteps trembled as he stared at the gigantic mouth of the azure scale python. His body was as light as a swallow, and the Garuda imprint condensed on his back began to float. His entire person transformed into a blur as he retreated towards the abdomen of the azure scale python. Earlier, in that instant, Qin Wentian felt that his movement technique had reached the pinnacle of perfection. He felt an intense sense of control over his movements. This was the level of subtlety. Die! Qin Wentian howled in rage. The revolving sea imprint released a terrifying might, directly slamming into the head of the azure scale python. At the same time, Qin Wentian's arrow directly pierced into its eye. Logan leapt onto the back of the azure scale python. With a howl of rage, he chopped downwards with his great axe. A resplendent azure light flashed as the axe forcefully penetrated the vital point of the azure scale python. The gigantic body of the azure scale python trembled violently as it struggled madly. Very quickly, it collapsed onto the ground, completely dead. Who? Logan drew in a deep breath, as he smiled at Qin Wentian. Many thanks. Let's kill the other azure scale pythons first. Qin Wentian nodded his head. With the death of the strongest 5th level azure scale python, the other azure scale pythons were no longer a threat. Qin Wentian, Logan and Fan Lu joined the fray, and very quickly, the remaining azure scale pythons were wiped out. Haha! Logan laughed uproariously, as he stared at Qin Wentian. As expected of the #1 student of the Emperor Star Academy. Qin Wentian, this time around, it's all thanks to you. If not for you, I'm afraid we would have been in deep trouble. Deep trouble? Looking at the carefree smile on Logan's face, Qin Wentian's brows twitched, as traces of sharpness could be seen in his eyes. However, the smile on his face didn't fade. Him now was no longer the simple and honest youth he once was. Qin Wentian, the demonic cores of these azure scale pythons are extremely valuable. I've made the decision to gift them all to you. Logan exclaimed in a heroic manner. However, his words were extremely piercing to the ears of Qin Wentian and Fan Lu. Gift them to him. If it weren't for him and Fan Lu, not to mention killing these azure scale pythons, even Logan and the rest would have been in mortal danger. Although Qin Wentian didn't claim credit for it, saying that it was all his effort, after all, the two of them had joined forces. However, Logan's words were extremely piercing to the ears. I'm not really interested in these demonic cores. I'll give them to you. Qin Wentian laughed as he replied, his words causing Logan's eyes to narrow as a cold light flickered within. After all, you guys have helped us out a little. If you don't want anything in return, it would be too polite of you. Why don't I give you another blood ember fruit? Logan laughed, as he walked towards the direction of the blood ember fruit tree. The people behind him followed suit, completely disregarding Qin Wentian. 7 people, 1 at the 4th level of arterial circulation, and 6 at the 3rd level. Seems like things are going to be a little troublesome. Qin Wentian watched as these people walked past him. Slowly, he turned his body as he spoke, wait a minute. Logan and the rest turned back, as they stared at Qin Wentian, is there anything else? Earlier, we saved your lives. This blood ember fruit should be distributed among us. Qin Wentian indifferently replied. Is that so? A cold glint of light flashed in Logan's eyes as he cast a glance at his surroundings. When his gaze landed on Qin Wentian once again, a cold smile could be seen flickering in his eyes. Since this is the case, we will have to thank you for your life-saving grace. As the sound of his voice faded, the crowd surrounded Qin Wentian. Although Qin Wentian was highly regarded by the Emperor Star Academy, this place was the Dark Forest. The eyes of the Emperor Star Academy wouldn't be able to see so far away. If 2 corpses were to appear here, they would be snatched away by demonic beasts. Nobody would even know how they died. The killing intent in Logan's eyes was no longer concealed. For the sake of the blood ember fruits, several of their comrades had died. Now that there were only 7 of them left, they were already extremely nervous. Logan felt that giving a blood ember fruit to Qin Wentian was already considered polite enough. However, there were some people who refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Since this was the case, it would naturally be better if there were fewer people sharing the fruits. That should be the case. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, he abruptly stepped forward, transforming into a blur of shadows. Earlier, when he dodged the attack of the Azure Kirin Python, his Garuda movement technique had already stepped into the second level of the arterial circulation manual, the exquisite level. Puchi. A crisp sound rang out as Qin Wentian's body came into contact with a cultivator at the third level of arterial circulation. This sudden scene caused the crowd to be stunned. When Qin Wentian retreated back to his original location, the crowd could only see a palm imprint on the chest of the cultivator whom Qin Wentian had come into contact with. That palm imprint had directly destroyed his heart. Cultivation isn't easy, and there are so many blood ember fruits here. Why can't we just divide them properly? Why must things be like this? Qin Wentian released his astral souls, as killing intent flashed in his eyes. Chapter 68. Seeing the speed of Qin Wentian, the countenances of Logan and the rest froze. After which, Logan spoke to a skinny and tall youth clad in green robes, "You will be the main controller." That person nodded his head as he released one of his astral souls. It was actually a tree-type astral soul, with many vines growing out of it. At the same time, the astral energy in his hands transformed into numerous vines that coiled around his body. This astral soul was evidently a control-type astral soul, and could be used to deal with the extremely fast Wuxia. "The two of you, go and kill that fatty," Logan commanded. Qin Wentian's status in the Emperor Star Academy was extraordinary. If they wanted to kill Qin Wentian, they had to kill Fan Lu as well. They must not leave any loose ends behind. The two of them nodded their heads, as they dashed towards Fan Lu. Upon seeing this scene, Fan Lu immediately turned and fled. His cultivation base was at the second level of arterial circulation, and his opponent's cultivation base was higher than his. Since he was proficient in long-range attacks, he naturally wouldn't engage in close-range combat with his opponents. Logan and the other three surrounded Qin Wentian, no longer concealing their killing intent. Killing a genius student is nothing more than that. Although he's also at the fourth level of arterial circulation, Murong Feng is still too tender. Logan coldly stated. His great axe astral soul exuded a terrifying sharpness. "Do it," Logan commanded. Momentarily, the tree-type astral soul expert's palms trembled, as the vines shot towards Qin Wentian. Logan took a huge step forward, as an axe light slashed downwards, wanting to cleave Qin Wentian into two. Qin Wentian's footsteps trembled, as his entire person transformed into a blur, evading the axe light and the vines as he floated to the side. Chi! A beam of sword light slashed over. A young man wielding a sword moved with the speed of the wind. At the same time, the fourth person also acted. He punched out with his fist, causing numerous demonic bulls to howl as they lunged towards Qin Wentian. In that short instant, Qin Wentian was surrounded. He executed the Garuda movement technique to the extreme, and dodged 3 attacks consecutively. His movements were so graceful that it caused people to sigh in admiration. However, the demonic ox was incomparably ferocious, and the area it covered was extremely large. He could only send out a palm strike, and the explosive power of the Vajra imprint shattered the demonic ox's shadow. That instant of delay was more than enough for the great axe and sharp sword to reach him. A terrifying sense of impending danger gushed forth. At this moment, Qin Wentian was extremely calm. It was as though he could hear every single sound of the wind blowing past him. Just as the divine weapon axe was about to cleave his head apart, Murong Feng's body was akin to a specter as he retreated backwards. The axe slashed past his body, yet the startling wind sword continued to slash through the air, lacerating his skin as drops of blood flowed out. The strength of the encirclement of the 4 of them was far from what Murong Feng could compare to. It was incomparably dangerous. Puchi. A light sound rang out, as a sharp sword pierced into Qin Wentian's body. However, at the same instant, a white light flashed from Qin Wentian's palm, as the throat of the sword-wielding youth was pierced through by a dagger. He immediately abandoned his sword, and clutched his throat with both hands. However, this was already too late to save his life. Qin Wentian didn't even have the time to watch his death. He directly rushed out from the hole in the wall, his eyes cold to the extreme. The dagger had always been hidden on his body, and the moment he made his move, it was already a sure kill move. His speed was extremely fast, and Logan and the rest seemed to have forgotten to chase after him. They could only watch as their comrade clutched his throat with both hands, as his body was dyed red with fresh blood. This was already the second person who had died in Qin Wentian's hands. At the start of the battle, Qin Wentian had caught them off guard and instantly killed one of them. This time around, it was yet another sure kill move. The remaining three stared at Qin Wentian, their gazes as cold as venomous snakes. Fresh blood could be seen on Qin Wentian's chest. That earlier sword strike had clearly injured him, and if it weren't for his sure kill move, his injuries would have been even more severe. Fascinating. At this moment, an unfamiliar voice drifted over. Qin Wentian, Logan, and the rest froze as they turned their gazes in the direction of the voice. Only to see Fan Lo running back in a sorry state, his aura fluctuating unsteadily. Traces of blood could be seen at the corner of his mouth, and the sleeves of his sleeves were torn apart. Evidently, he had already revealed the existence of this divine weapon, but he was still injured. We've been betrayed. Fan Lo spat out a mouthful of blood-colored saliva as he walked towards Qin Wentian. After which, a few more people appeared on the hillside. The two who had chased after Fan Lo, as well as two others. One of them was a skinny man with a long face and cold eyes, giving off a sinister aura. At this moment, a cold smile could be seen on his face, and the words fascinating earlier were spoken by him. Beside him stood another person, causing Qin Wentian's eyes to widen in surprise. Zhao Yi. Qin Wentian called out. Zhao Yi's gaze shifted in his direction as he unhappily stated, "Don't blame me, you were the one who was heartless first. If you had stayed behind earlier, I'm afraid you would already be a dead man by now." Qin Wentian calmly continued, "I only wanted you to leave first. If we managed to obtain the blood ember fruits, I would naturally share them with you." "Who would have thought? You can say whatever you want now." Zhao Yi coldly stated. "Why are you wasting your breath on this kind of person? We brought him along to temper ourselves in the dark forest, and we even shared half of the demonic cores with him. Look at what happened now." Fan Lo coldly stated. Qin Wentian shook his head, he couldn't be bothered to say anything more. There was no need to explain things to this kind of person. He. The person beside Zhao Yi coldly laughed, "Logan, young Lord Luo is in the vicinity. I've already sent someone to inform him, you can do as you see fit." Luo Qinqiu. Logan's countenance stiffened as he cast a cold glance at Zhao Yi. This bastard, he actually brought Luo Qinqiu's lackey Franklin here. Since Luo Qinqiu already knew about the matter of the blood ember fruits, everything was already set in stone. He could only fight for himself. "Franklin, I'm willing to give the blood ember fruits to young Lord Luo. However, many of my brothers died. Can you leave one for each of us?" Logan asked. "There are only a few blood ember fruits left. Do you want young Lord Luo to leave all of them for you?" Franklin pointed to the blood ember fruit tree in the distance. Logan shifted his gaze in that direction, and both his legs trembled. It was as though he had just seen something inconceivable. His countenance instantly turned extremely ugly to behold. "Franklin, there's still someone else here." Logan's countenance was unsightly to behold. There were only a few fruits left on the blood ember fruit tree. Evidently, someone had stolen them. But how could this be possible? Although they were fighting, how could they not have sensed that someone had stolen the fruits? How could the thief's movements be so light? I don't care if there's still someone else here. Do you still want these blood ember fruits? Franklin aggressively stated. Logan's countenance turned ugly as he silently cursed in his heart. If it wasn't for the fact that Franklin was Luo Qianqiu's lackey, he wouldn't even care about this bastard. But now, his life was more important. He had indeed heard that Luo Qianqiu was also tempering himself in the dark forest. Luo Qianqiu was an existence that he didn't dare to antagonize. I'm willing to give them all to young Master Luo. Logan spoke, causing Franklin to smile in satisfaction. Qin Wentian and Fan Le had been standing at the side, watching. Upon hearing that Logan was willing to give the blood ember fruits to young Master Luo, their countenances couldn't help but turn somewhat strange. It seems that you should discuss this with me first. Qin Wentian indifferently stated. Instantly, the gazes of Logan and Franklin shifted onto Qin Wentian. Logan silently cursed at this fellow for not knowing the immensity of death, while a smile appeared on Franklin's face. He's also a student of the Emperor Star Academy. Franklin had always followed Luo Qianqiu in tempering himself in the dark forest. It had already been half a year since he returned. He's the top student of the Emperor Star Academy, Qin Wentian. Logan stated to Franklin. I see. Franklin rubbed his chin as he stared at Qin Wentian. Since you're a new student, you should learn to respect your seniors. Are you going to give me these blood ember fruits? Fine, I'll give them all to you. Qin Wentian waved his hands as he glanced at Fan Le. The two of them then turned and departed. This scene caused Logan to be stunned. Since when did this fellow become so easy to talk to? However, at this moment, a snowy white hound slowly crawled its way to the blood ember fruit tree. In an instant, it leapt up the tree and stretched out its furry paws to pluck a blood ember fruit. After that, it peeked its head out and cast a glance at Logan. Its eyes blinked a few times, as though it was depressed that it had been discovered. So it was done by this beast. A cold glint of light flashed in Logan's eyes. That's Qin Wentian's pet. Zhao Yi's countenance stiffened as he stared at the snowy white hound. Little rascal, eat the remaining fruits yourself. Qin Wentian's voice drifted over from afar. Upon hearing that, little rascal directly tossed the blood ember fruit in its paw into its mouth. After which, its body abruptly expanded in size as it dashed towards the other blood ember fruits. In the blink of an eye, more and more blood ember fruits entered its mouth. Quick, stop him. Franklin's countenance abruptly changed, as he hurriedly dashed towards the blood ember fruit tree. However, even before they arrived, the fruits on the blood ember fruit tree had already been devoured. Little rascal transformed into a blur as he dashed down the hill. When Franklin and Logan finally caught up to him, they discovered that little rascal was still chewing on a sack in his mouth. Naturally, the contents of the sack were the other blood ember fruits. Vile beast! Bastard! Franklin and Logan roared as they madly chased after little rascal. However, little rascal's speed was simply too fast. It transformed into a white blur as it dashed into the depths of the forest. From afar, Qin Wentian and Fatty both had radiant smiles on their faces. That little rascal should have eaten his fill earlier, right? Chapter 69. 2 hours later, in the same secluded mountain valley, a few silhouettes stood there. The person in the lead seemed to be around 17 years of age. His countenance was calm, yet he gave off the impression of a towering mountain. It was as though as long as he was there, the others would lose their splendor, and could only serve as his background. Logan and the rest stood at the foot of the mountain, their expressions extremely reserved. Evidently, they had failed to catch up to Little Rascal. Little Rascal dashed in all directions, and they had no way to catch up. Very quickly, they were shaken off. By the time they returned, Qin Wentian and Fan Le had already slipped away, only to see Luo Qianqiu and the rest standing there. Where are the blood ember fruits? Luo Qianqiu's voice was calm, devoid of any emotions. But with just a casual question, Logan's entire body tensed up as he respectfully replied, "Young Master Luo, Qin Wentian is too cunning. He personally delayed us, but he allowed his demonic beast to steal away the blood ember fruits that I was preparing to present to young Master Luo." Franklin walked to Luo Qianqiu's side, and spoke a few words to him. Luo Qianqiu's countenance didn't change in the slightest. Number one amongst the new students, Qin Wentian. He, Luo Qianqiu, had no interest whatsoever. "Go and find him," Luo Qianqiu coldly commanded. Logan felt as though he had just been pardoned from a grave crime. He bowed and replied, "Logan will definitely do his best." As he spoke, he led the group of people behind him in the direction that Qin Wentian had left. "This mountain valley is extremely secretive. Let's go and search for other treasures," Luo Qianqiu commanded. The silhouettes of the people behind him flickered as they dispersed in all directions. It was as though Luo Qianqiu's every word and action was an imperial edict. Very quickly, only Franklin and Zhao Yi remained by Luo Qianqiu's side. Zhao Yi, a new student of the Emperor Star Academy, is willing to follow beside young Master Luo from now on. Zhao Yi bowed to Luo Qianqiu. He was very clear of Luo Qianqiu's status in the Emperor Star Academy. The heavens chosen, Luo Qianqiu, in his first year in the Emperor Star Academy, not only did he obtain first place amongst the new students, he even swept aside all the second-year students. In the second year, he joined the Azura Alliance and became one of the leaders. Luo Qianqiu's talent was exceedingly high, and the cultivation techniques and innate techniques he cultivated were all terrifying. Not only that, it was rumored that he had an extraordinary background, and very few people dared to provoke him. Other than his innate talent, he was also extremely hardworking in his cultivation. Every day, he would engage in a life and death battle with a senior from the Azura Alliance in the Dream Sky Forest. Those who were cruel to themselves would undoubtedly be cruel to their enemies. "You betrayed your friends. You don't even qualify to be my dog. Scram!" Luo Qianqiu coldly spat out, causing Zhao Yi's countenance to turn pale, his countenance extremely ugly to behold. He had already betrayed Qin Wentian, wanting to obtain a portion of the blood ember fruits from Feng Lin, yet the blood ember fruits were still snatched away by Qin Wentian. And at this moment, he was being humiliated by Luo Qianqiu. This caused Zhao Yi's face to contort as he silently turned around and left. "Young Master Luo, should we get rid of him?" Feng Lin whispered to Luo Qianqiu. Since this Zhao Yi was able to betray Qin Wentian, he would definitely harbor a grudge against them. Why not just kill him? No need. Luo Qianqiu calmly replied, as he walked towards the hidden ravine. What sort of character was he, Luo Qianqiu? He couldn't even be bothered with a minor character like Zhao Yi. After all, he had his own pride. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu returned to the lakeside. After waiting for a few moments, they saw Little Rascal rushing over with a pouch in its mouth, stopping beside Qin Wentian. "Good fellow." Qin Wentian opened the pouch, and as expected, 10 blood ember fruits could be seen within. He couldn't help but rub Little Rascal's head gently. Little Rascal's body had once again shrunk back to its original size. Wagging its tail, it rubbed its head against Qin Wentian's thigh, as though it was asking for credit. "Little Rascal, the blood ember fruits you ate have already been digested. Aren't you a little too wasteful?" Fan Lu walked over and slapped Little Rascal's head. Little Rascal turned around and squatted on the ground, glaring at Fan Lu. That pair of beady eyes were filled with disdain, causing Fan Lu to roll his eyes. Who would have thought that this fellow could actually hunt for treasures? A smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face as he shared the blood ember fruits with Little Rascal. After which, they departed the area. He and Little Rascal had agreed to meet at this location, but Zhao Yi also knew of this location. In order to prevent others from finding their way here, it was better to first find a place to consume the blood ember fruits and see if there was any chance for him to break through to the third level of arterial circulation. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu had already broken through to the second level of arterial circulation a few days ago, and after experiencing the energy of the dark forest, Fan Li's cultivation base had already broken through to the third level of arterial circulation after consuming 3 blood ember fruits consecutively. This caused Qin Wentian to be speechless. As for Qin Wentian, after consuming the 2 blood ember fruits, he continued to temper himself in the dark forest. Naturally, he didn't forget to cultivate, and finally, after 10 days, he broke through to the third level of arterial circulation. The astral energy in his body flowed more smoothly than before, and it was as though his entire person had undergone another transformation. This feeling of breaking through was extremely wonderful. As for the remaining 3 blood ember fruits, Qin Wentian wasn't in a hurry to consume them. Treasures like these were extremely rare, and if it weren't for Little Rascal leading the way, they would definitely not have been able to find the valley. Not only that, there were many people who came to the dark forest to temper themselves, and they could already be considered extremely lucky to have stumbled upon it. These 3 blood ember fruits should be saved for their next breakthrough. They also weren't in a hurry to leave the dark forest. Now that their strength had improved, Qin Wentian and Fan Lu were even more proficient in hunting and killing 4th-level demonic beasts. Flying beasts belonged to Qin Wentian, while land beasts belonged to Fan Lu. In the blink of an eye, another month passed by. Fallen leaves fluttered about the dark forest, creating a beautiful scene of autumn. Within the dark forest, one could often see 2 muscular silhouettes carrying a snow-white puppy as they dashed about, hunting demonic beasts. The demonic beasts in this area would flee whenever they saw the 2 of them, treating them as devils. Qin Wentian's Garuda movement technique of the 9 heavenly layers was getting more and more proficient, and the Garuda imprint on his back was faintly discernible. Even his entire demeanor seemed to have undergone a slight transformation. Perhaps it was because he had swallowed too many demonic beasts, but Qin Wentian's entire person exuded a sense of demonic handsomeness. His pair of bright eyes were as beautiful as a demon, and even though his entire body was covered in dirt, it was unable to conceal the vitality radiating from his eyes. Both he and Fan Lu had grown taller. "Fatty, your figure is getting better and better." At this moment, Qin Wentian took out a dagger he had picked up and skillfully split open the head of a demonic beast, retrieving the demonic core from within as he smiled at Fatty. During these few days, Fan Li's fat body had indeed lost a lot of weight. "I'm a man who wants to woo my goddess, of course I have to become more handsome." Fan Lu grinned. "Boss, you still have some blood ember fruits on you that you haven't used yet, right? Do you want to share some with me?" "Scram, you've already eaten your own fruits and you still want to take advantage of me? You must be dreaming." Qin Wentian cast a disdainful glance at Fatty. This Fatty wanted to break through to the 4th level of arterial circulation in a single go, and he had already eaten the remaining 2 blood ember fruits. However, his cultivation base was still stuck at the peak of the 3rd level. "How disloyal!" Fan Lu mumbled as he stood up and left. At this moment, a cry for help drifted over. Qin Wentian and Fan Li's silhouettes flickered, and an instant later, they saw a group of people chasing after an extremely disheveled silhouette. "Zhao Yi." An expression of interest appeared on Fan Li's face as he stared at the person being chased. Zhao Yi halted his steps, and upon seeing Qin Wentian and Fan Lu, a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes as he shouted, "Qin Wentian, Fan Lu, save me, they want to kill me." The group of people rushed forward and surrounded Zhao Yi, only to see one of them glancing at Qin Wentian and Fan Lu as he stated, "Friend, this man took the opportunity to steal the demonic cores we placed at the side while we were fighting against the demonic beasts. It's best if you don't interfere." "They're lying, the demonic cores were stolen by them." Zhao Yi's countenance drastically changed, as he stared at Qin Wentian and Fan Lu. This was his only chance. "For a person like you, I'm already being polite if I don't personally slaughter you." Fan Lu coldly stated. Back then, Zhao Yi, who was originally their comrade, had actually brought people to deal with them, placing them in a dangerous situation. Back then, Zhao Yi had no qualms about it at all. Zhao Yi's countenance stiffened, as he stared at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian, we're comrades, save me. Sincerity, you can only give it once. Once you miss it, there won't be a second chance. Qin Wentian softly replied, as he prepared to depart. They have blood ember fruits on them. Zhao Yi suddenly pointed at Qin Wentian and Fan Lu as he howled in rage, yes, and not just one. They snatched over 10 blood ember fruits from a blood ember fruit tree. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu halted their steps. At this moment, Zhao Yi's countenance was contorted in agony as he stared at Qin Wentian and Fan Lu. It was precisely the two of them who had caused him to be in such a miserable state. Ha, how lively! A voice drifted over from afar, as a group of silhouettes sprinted over. There were a total of 6 of them, and they were none other than Logan and the rest. Qin Wentian, you still have so many blood ember fruits with you, right? Logan's eyes flashed with coldness. At the same time, the other group of people stared at Qin Wentian and Fan Lu with greed in their eyes. Qin Wentian suddenly recalled a saying that had circulated around the dark forest. The most dangerous thing wasn't the demonic beasts, but the human heart. This saying was something that Qin Wentian had heard when he was chatting with a group of adventurers. Qin Wentian, Fan Lu, prepare to die. Zhao Yi's face contorted in a malevolent manner. However, in the next instant, Qin Wentian's silhouette transformed into a blur. Zhao Yi's eyes narrowed as he retreated. A stream of blood flashed past, and Zhao Yi's throat was sliced open by the dagger. His hands clutched at his throat, as terror and despair could be seen in his eyes. Staring at Qin Wentian, he knelt down, before slumping to the ground. The terror in his eyes was still there. He had never imagined that his young life would end in such a manner. In his mind, many scenes flashed past. How young he was, how he had entered the Emperor Star Academy, how high-spirited he was, how he had invited Qin Wentian and Fan Lu to enter the dark forest together. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu had brought him along to hunt demonic beasts, causing his strength to rise unceasingly. That feeling of excitement had filled him with hope for the future. But all of this changed with the appearance of the blood ember fruits. His life had come to an end. Chapter 70. The dagger in Qin Wentian's hand was still dripping with blood. He was extremely calm, and this calmness actually caused Logan to feel a sense of danger. Brandishing his divine axe, Logan released his astral soul. His astral soul seemed to have fused together with the divine weapon in his hands, exuding a tyrannical sharpness. Previously, Qin Wentian had already given him quite a bit of pressure. This time around, it was better to be more careful. The people around him all released their astral souls, as they prepared for battle. Fan Lu stealthily increased the distance between them, as he activated his archery astral soul. Qin Wentian casually kept the dagger in his hand, as he pulled out a pair of gloves. The silvery glove reflected a resplendent light, causing it to be exceptionally dazzling to the eyes. This was a divine weapon that Qin Wentian had forged for himself. Slowly donning the gloves, the young man was still as calm and tranquil as ever. Be careful. Logan spoke to his companions, while Qin Wentian casually turned around, staring at the group of people who had been chasing after Zhao Yi earlier. He smiled at them, causing their countenances to flicker with a strange light. This devilishly handsome young man was so calm that it caused them to feel a trace of fear. That smile of his was clean and gentle, yet it contained a trace of calmness that didn't match his age. Abruptly, numerous vines extended towards Qin Wentian, wrapping around Qin Wentian's body, before violently pulling him back. When Logan and the others saw this scene, their killing intent erupted. They took a step forward and at the same time, 9 arrows descended from the skies, shooting towards Logan and the others. Logan raised his great axe and abruptly chopped down with an incomparably tyrannical momentum, as though it could split apart a mountain. At the same time, the expert with the ancient tree astral soul pulled Qin Wentian towards him. A cold glint of light flashed in his eyes, as a sharp wooden blade pierced towards Qin Wentian's heart. Qin Wentian's silhouette floated along the vines towards him. His silhouette was like a phantom, and there were hints of blurriness to it. This caused the eyes of the expert to narrow, as the vines around Qin Wentian loosened. Qin Wentian was borrowing the power of the vines to get closer to him. Roar! With a dragon's roar, the dragon subduing fist blasted out, shattering the wooden blade into pieces. A silver-colored dragon claw flickered in the air, and instantly, the throat of the expert with the ancient tree astral soul was filled with blood. Third level of arterial circulation. Logan's expression was ashen. Arrows were madly shooting towards him. He had no time to deal with anything else. After Qin Wentian killed one of them, the other four simultaneously launched their attacks. However, Qin Wentian abruptly stomped his foot on the ground, causing the earth to tremble. Boundless divine energy gushed forth from his 3 stellar meridians, gushing forth from his palms. Not only that, this divine energy was amplified by the divine gloves. The attacks of the Qin Wentian's right, and instantly. With the power. And, as, he, dragon. Qin was the sea, and, landed. As. Said. The. Rumble. The terrifying revolving sea imprint slammed into their bodies, instantly annihilating the 4 of them. Fan Lo didn't continue shooting, but Logan's heart was pounding. Seeing Qin Wentian rushing towards him, a look of terror flashed past his eyes. Retreat means death. Logan howled in rage, as he cleaved out with his great axe, as though he wanted to split the heavens and earth apart, destroying everything. Qin Wentian didn't dodge. Clad in a silver glove, he blasted out another revolving sea imprint, causing the great axe to be flung away. After which, Qin Wentian's palms grabbed onto Logan's throat, as he continued to rush forward. Gotcha! Logan, who was being held by Qin Wentian, was forced to retreat. His body slammed into a huge tree, causing it to split apart. Logan's blood and chi churned wildly, as his countenance turned pale. Don't kill me. As the sound of Logan's voice faded, the silver glove slashed across his throat. Instantly, his eyes widened, as only despair could be seen in them. Clutching his throat with both hands, his body slumped to the ground. Who? Those who were chasing after Zhao Yi felt their bodies tense up. The relaxed smiles on their faces vanished, replaced with a heavy expression as they stared warily at the young man who had just turned around. Evidently, they didn't expect that the seemingly calm and peaceful young man would be so tyrannical and ruthless when he acted, showing no mercy at all. Let's go. Qin Wentian smiled at Fan Lo before departing the area. Fan Lo quickened his pace, and only then did the pursuers heave a sigh of relief. One of the pursuers stared at the back view of Qin Wentian and Fan Lo, as an unconcealable ripple of emotion flashed through his eyes. In the future, when we meet with this person, show him some respect. Do not antagonize him. That person spoke, as the others nodded their heads in agreement. They had been adventuring in the dark forest for many years, and were already used to killing. But when they saw how calm that young man was when he killed Zhao Yi, they couldn't help but feel fear in their hearts. If he doesn't die, in the future, this young man will definitely become someone great. Another person murmured. Qin Wentian and Fan Lo strolled through the forest. Fan Li's gaze was fixed on Qin Wentian, as a strange light flickered in his eyes. What are you looking at? Are you jealous that I'm more handsome than you? Qin Wentian laughed as he stared at Fan Lo. Fan Lo shook his head. Compared to the first time I met you, you seem to have changed quite a bit. The you back then, always had worries in your heart. Although you were ruthless to your enemies, you weren't as calm and decisive as you are now. People are always changing. Qin Wentian laughed, aren't you the same? You even know how to put on a serious face now. Fan Lu clasped his hands behind his head as he tilted his head upwards, a smile appearing on his face. That's right, humans will always change, becoming more and more suitable to live in this world. But one day, will we be able to return to our original selves? In front of my brothers, I will always be the original me, no matter what the future holds. Qin Wentian stared at Fan Lu. Although there was dust on his face, in Fan Li's eyes, Qin Wentian's face was exceptionally clean. Especially that radiant smile of his, it caused people to feel a sense of comfort in their hearts. Yes, our brotherhood will never change in this lifetime. Fan Lu gazed into the horizons, he could still vaguely remember the scene when they first met. It was very ordinary, there was nothing spectacular about it. However, sometimes, the feelings between men were just so simple, there was no reason for it. Autumn clothes gradually grew thicker, as the colorful fallen leaves formed a beautiful yet desolate path in the forest. Following that ancient path, two youths slowly walked out. They inclined their heads and stared at the ancient town in front of them, as a pure smile could be seen on their faces. Heh, which academy did this brat come from? His luck isn't bad, he managed to walk out alive. A few adventurers at the side grinned at the two of them. Usually, these two youths were students of the academy. Yeah, our luck isn't bad. Qin Wentian laughed as he stared at the burly man who spoke. It's better not to run into the dark forest at such a young age. Handsome brat, I'm afraid you haven't tasted the taste of a woman yet. Do you need elder sister's help? Beside the burly man was a woman with a fiery hot figure. She was clad in a tight-fitting adventurer's attire, causing one to drool with desire. Third sister, aren't you a little too insincere? You wouldn't even spare a little kid. If you need anything, look for me. The burly man laughed, his eyes ferociously staring at the woman's ample bosom. Are you more handsome than him? The woman spoke in disdain. Momentarily, the group of adventurers laughed uproariously as they entered the dark forest. Come back safely. Qin Wentian called out to them, as a form of blessing. The burly man waved his hands, this daddy won't die if I don't devour this demoness. Let's hope they can continue to be so heroic and not scheme against each other. Qin Wentian gave his blessings in his heart as he and Fan Lu walked towards the direction of the royal capital. The first time he stepped into the royal capital, he had already encountered the alliance of the 9 academies. Now, it had already been 7 months since then. Time passes by so quickly. Qin Wentian sighed. The autumn wind carried with it a hint of coldness as it caressed his body. The countenance of the youth, compared to the past, was no longer as tender as before. Instead, it was filled with tenacity and determination, as though he was gradually maturing. On the main road of the royal capital, there was a long queue of people. In the queue, there was a dragon horse carriage pulled by 8 dragon horses. What made people astonished was that these dragon horses actually had wings on their backs. This was a mutated dragon horse, the winged dragon horse. It was an extremely valuable breed that could soar through the air, traversing tens of thousands of miles in a single day. There were actually 8 dragon horses pulling the carriage, one could see that the person in the carriage had an esteemed status. Other than that, there was a large group of guards surrounding the carriage. In front of the carriage, there was an old man who had his eyes closed in meditation. However, the aura he exuded was unfathomable. And behind the group of guards, there was a group of youths, all of them filled with vigor and vitality. Their gazes swept over the surroundings, contemplating the royal capital. On both sides of the main road, there were many people whispering to each other. It said that the person in the carriage is one of the candidates for the position of the crown princess of Snowcloud. I wonder why she would grace the Chu country with her presence. Those youths are the disciples of the Snowcloud Martial Academy. I heard that this time around, the ones receiving them would be from the Royal Academy. These people are probably here to test out the strength of the Royal Academy. As the crowd discussed, Qin Wentian and Fan Lu were passing by. Upon hearing the discussions of the crowd, they couldn't help but feel curious. The Crown Princess of Snowcloud actually brought people to the Chu country. From within the carriage, a white palm stretched out, lifting the curtains of the carriage as a pair of beautiful countenances appeared in the eyes of the crowd. It was an extremely beautiful woman, around the age of 18. Her eyes were filled with gentleness, as though there was something weighing on her mind. Qin Wentian's gaze also shifted in that direction. The instant he saw that beautiful face, his body violently trembled as he froze in place. Chapter 71. Sister Yao. Qin Wentian's eyes widened in a daze as he stared at that face. It was actually Qin Yao. As though she sensed something, Qin Yao's gaze also shifted in the direction of Qin Wentian. The instant she saw Qin Wentian, her heart violently trembled. Her beautiful eyes flickered with an intense light, as though she wanted nothing more than to rush down and reunite with Qin Wentian. Their gazes collided in midair. Qin Wentian reacted, as he took large strides towards Qin Wentian. No, now that Wentian is regarded highly by the Emperor Star Academy, it's better if I don't reunite with him. I don't want him to be dragged into this mess. Qin Yao's heart trembled as she saw Qin Wentian walking over. After which, she let down the curtains and commanded, "Hurry up." As the sound of her voice faded, the speed of the group increased. Qin Wentian had already rushed into the crowd, dashing towards Qin Yao. However, he only saw a silhouette on a horse blocking his path, coldly stating, "Don't get close." Qin Wentian's gaze froze. He could feel the aura of the person on the horse, but he knew that it was impossible for him to rush over. How could this be? Sister Yao saw me, but why did she pretend not to know me? Qin Wentian stood there dumbfounded. The rider coldly glanced at Qin Wentian, and upon seeing that Qin Wentian didn't move, the rider turned and departed. Very quickly, the silhouettes of the group disappeared, leaving Qin Wentian standing there in a daze. "Are you acquainted with the person inside?" Fan Lu walked over and asked. His gaze was still fixed on Qin Wentian as he nodded his head. "I heard from the passers-by that the person inside was one of the candidates for the Crown Prince's wife." "Did you get the wrong person?" Fan Lu mumbled. "Snowcloud Country, there's no mistaking it. Sister Yao went to Snowcloud Country to cultivate at the start of the year. What exactly happened in these 7 to 8 months?" Qin Wentian's heart was in a state of chaos. "Let's go." Filled with bewilderment, Qin Wentian turned and continued his journey in the direction of the Emperor Star Academy. As for the matter regarding Qin Yao, he was prepared to find out more about it. He had to find out what exactly was going on. After Qin Wentian and Fan Lu brought Little Rascal back to the Emperor Star Academy, they discovered that many people were looking at them with strange gazes, causing them to involuntarily feel suspicious. Although they could be considered somewhat famous in the Emperor Star Academy, the gazes of the crowd today were somewhat strange, as though they were filled with pity. Qin Wentian is back. That guy went out to train for over 2 months. It is said that he secretly went to the dark forest. However, I'm afraid he's in for it this time. Many people murmured in a low voice. The news of Qin Wentian's return to the Emperor Star Academy quickly circulated around. When Qin Wentian returned to his residence, he found that there were many people outside, including Shinran. "Shinran, why are you here?" Qin Wentian asked suspiciously. "How did you guys offend Luo Qianqiu?" Shinran anxiously asked. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu exchanged glances. Luo Qianqiu, they didn't seem to know who this person was. 20 days ago, after Luo Qianqiu returned to the academy, he sent someone to pass a message to you, telling you to meet him. Shinran continued. Luo Qianqiu, could it be that young Master Luo? Qin Wentian mumbled. Back then, when he was fighting for the Blood Ember fruits, Zhao Yi and Franklin appeared, saying that young Master Luo was in the vicinity. Logan immediately offered the Blood Ember fruits to him. Yes, it should be Luo Qianqiu. You guys really know how to cause trouble. This Luo Qianqiu is a legendary character in the academy. His talent is exceedingly high. Back then, the various elders fought intensely to recruit him. With a cultivation base at the 7th level of arterial circulation, not many people dared to antagonize him. Even those from the Knights Association were afraid of Luo Qianqiu, and never dared to offend him. I've already offended those from the Knights Association. Since I can't avoid it, there's no need to worry about one more. Qin Wentian was extremely calm. This Luo Qianqiu was truly tyrannical. The Blood Ember fruits he obtained in the Dark Forest already belonged to him. And when he arrived at the academy, Luo Qianqiu actually came looking for trouble, asking him to meet him. You still haven't figured it out. This Luo Qianqiu is different from those from the Knights Association. Those from the Knights Association have their own considerations, but Luo Qianqiu is different. He has always done whatever he wants, and other than the fact that he hasn't killed anyone within the academy grounds, he has done everything in the past. Not only that, I heard that the power behind him is extremely terrifying. Shinran anxiously explained. It's good that you guys understand. At this moment, a voice drifted over. Qin Wentian and the rest turned around, only to see a person walking over. This person was none other than Franklin, who had appeared together with Zhao Yi back then. You two actually dared to steal the things belonging to young Master Luo. Later on, bring the Blood Ember fruits to the Azura Association and beg for forgiveness. Maybe, young Master Luo will be lenient with the two of you. Franklin stared at Qin Wentian and Fan Lu. These two fellows and that dog were the ones who had stolen the Blood Ember fruits cleanly. Steal. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu froze. The treasures in the Dark Forest belonged to whoever obtained them. What do you mean by stealing? At that time, Luo Qianqiu wasn't even there. Qin Wentian faintly replied. Wasn't the words of Franklin a little too ridiculous? Since Logan gifted the Blood Ember fruits to young Master Luo, it already belongs to young Master Luo. No one else is allowed to touch it. Seeing that Qin Wentian had actually refuted, Franklin couldn't help but coldly snort. Don't think that just because you are valued by the academy, you have the qualifications to disobey young Master Luo's orders. Young Master Luo can squash a character like Murong Feng to death with a single hand. After which, Franklin flicked his sleeves and turned to leave. He continued, if I don't see you within a day and you don't come and beg for forgiveness, you will have to bear the consequences. Young Master Luo's wrath is not something you can handle. Qin Wentian stared at Franklin's departing back as a cold glint of light flashed in his eyes. Even a lackey can be so arrogant. What a weirdo. Fan Lu coldly remarked. Teacher and Sister Luo Huan, why are you here as well? At this moment, Qin Wentian noticed two silhouettes in the distance. They were actually Mustang and Luo Huan. Little junior brother, you really know how to create trouble. Luo Huan smiled at Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to have a bitter smile on his face. It seemed that this Luo Qianqiu was indeed extraordinary. If not, Teacher Mustang and Senior Sister Luo Huan wouldn't have appeared here. I didn't provoke him at all. Qin Wentian shrugged his shoulders as he explained what had happened. Blood Ember fruit, no wonder. After hearing Qin Wentian's explanation, Luo Huan finally understood. Treasures were able to move people's hearts, especially the Blood Ember fruit, which could aid arterial circulation realm cultivators in breaking through to the next level. Wentian. At this moment, Mustang's gaze shifted onto Qin Wentian as he slowly stated, from the looks of it, there's no problem with your actions. On the contrary, you've already done very well. However, in this world, there's no such thing as absolute right or wrong. Everything depends on one's strength. I can only say that your luck is bad, to have encountered Luo Qinqiu. Luo Qinqiu. Qin Wentian muttered in a low voice. Back then, when he had offended Orkan, Mustang didn't even take him seriously. Evidently, in Mustang's eyes, Luo Qinqiu was even more important than Orkan. Wentian, since you've left the Sky Harmony City, you should understand this logic. Although the outside world is fascinating, it's also filled with dangers. Experts are as common as the clouds, and the number of disciples from the major powers is innumerable. Although your talent is extraordinary, it's not as easy as you imagine it to be for you to mature. How many geniuses have died prematurely in their youth? Mustang slowly explained to Qin Wentian, and this is still within the academy. In the future, when you leave the academy and roam the continent, you'll discover that this is even more so. Sometimes, you have to endure. Teacher, if you have something to say, just tell Wentian. I understand. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled. He knew that Mustang wanted to say something, but he was afraid that Mustang would hurt his teacher's morale. Mustang's countenance stiffened, before he nodded his head, go and see Luo Qinqiu. If there's anyone in the academy who dares to kill you, Luo Qinqiu would definitely be one of them. Qin Wentian's eyes narrowed as he asked, what is Luo Qinqiu's identity? For now, there's no need for you to know. Mustang replied, Luo Huan will accompany you. If there are any more blood ember fruits, just give them to Luo Qinqiu. Qin Wentian muttered to himself for a moment before nodding his head with a smile, I will go and see him. Qin Wentian understood that Teacher Mustang was doing this for his own good. Since Luo Qinqiu wanted him to go and see him, he would go. Since this is the case, if there's anything else, you can chat with Luo Huan. I'll take my leave first. Mustang spoke and left. Luo Huan gently tousled Qin Wentian's hair as she smiled, little junior brother, you've grown taller, and you seem even more handsome now. Qin Wentian rolled his eyes as he bitterly smiled, senior sister, I have something that I need your help with. What is it? Luo Huan curiously inquired. Earlier, I saw my elder sister Qin Yao in the royal capital. Not only that, she came here together with people from Snowcloud, and it said that, she's one of the candidates for the crown prince's concubine. Senior sister, can you investigate this matter? Sure, leave this matter to me. I'll look for you tomorrow, and after that, I'll go and see Luo Qinqiu. How about it? Okay. Qin Wentian nodded his head. Luo Huan and Shina also left, leaving behind only Fan Lu and Qin Wentian. Fan Lu stared at Qin Wentian as he asked, do you really want to go? Didn't you see that even Teacher Mustang is here? Of course, I have to see him. Qin Wentian walked into the room, and Fan Lu followed him in. Feeling somewhat depressed, he said, seems like in the future, I have to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Qin Wentian understood Fan Li's meaning. If only they had sufficient strength back then, they would have been able to eliminate Logan, Franklin, and the others. Then, the current situation wouldn't have happened. What about the blood ember fruits? Do you intend to hand them over? Fan Lu curiously stared at Qin Wentian. He knew that although Qin Wentian appeared casual on the surface, he was actually extremely prideful in his heart. If he went to apologize and still wanted to hand over the blood ember fruits, he would definitely lose face. Qin Wentian took out the remaining blood ember fruits and threw them into his mouth, swallowing them in a single gulp. This caused Fan Li's expression to stiffen. This fellow was truly ruthless. After swallowing the blood ember fruits, Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with a cold light. Let's hope that Luo Qinqiu wouldn't go too far. As for the blood ember fruits, how could he possibly hand them over? In this world, strength was the most important thing. Without strength, what right do you have to be proud? Without strength, what right do you have to protect your dignity? Without strength, you can't even protect yourself, what right do you have to protect your family and friends? Chapter 72. Qin Wentian swallowed the rest of the blood ember fruits in a single gulp. If they wanted him to see Luo Qinxiu, he could accept it. But if they wanted him to hand over the blood ember fruits that could increase his strength, that was impossible. If his strength was stronger than Luo Qinxiu, he wouldn't be the one going to see Luo Qinxiu. The 3 blood ember fruits instantly caused Qin Wentian's body to burn up. Qin Wentian's face turned crimson red as his blood boiled. His face looked as though it would drip blood at any moment, and a terrifying energy was burning his arterial pathways and acupoints. Qin Wentian gritted his teeth as the violent divine energy and astral energy from the blood ember fruits frenziedly rushed into his arterial pathways and acupoints. Rumbling sounds rang out from within Qin Wentian's body, akin to the roaring of the sea. Qin Wentian ran over and closed the door, silently cursing Qin Wentian for being a madman. The sound of the blood ember fruits unceasingly rang out as Qin Wentian's internal organs were in a state of turmoil. The terrifying divine energy frenziedly rushed into his body, and after half a day, a new arterial pathway was opened up. Boundless astral energy flowed through the newly opened arterial pathway, circulating throughout his entire body. 4th level of arterial circulation. Fan Lu flipped over on his bed as he sensed the aura emanating from Qin Wentian. His eyes flickered with uncertainty, the effects of the blood ember fruits had yet to dissipate. Pervert. Cursing in a low voice, Fan Lu fell asleep. When he awoke, he discovered that Qin Wentian had already fallen asleep. Starlight shone in through the window, illuminating Qin Wentian's body. Evidently, after using the blood ember fruits, Qin Wentian immediately resumed his cultivation. After breaking through, Qin Wentian could store an even greater amount of astral energy in his body. If he wanted to condense divine energy, he would require even more astral energy. But now, the speed at which he condensed divine energy was much faster than before. After Qin Wentian awoke, he was still immersed in his cultivation. Feeling the surging energy within his body, his mood couldn't help but improve. Nowadays, Qin Wentian had a strong desire for strength. Sometimes, he would think that it would be good if time could pass faster. When Luo Huan arrived, Qin Wentian was still in the midst of his cultivation. Fan Lu woke him up only to see Luo Huan smiling at him. Little junior brother is really hardworking. Senior sister, please don't laugh at me. I am so weak. If I don't grow stronger, I'm afraid I won't even know how I died in the future, said Qin Wentian with a bitter smile. It's already very good. After all, you've only been cultivating for less than a year. Luo Huan's beautiful eyes flickered as she smiled. The matter you asked me to find out has already been completed. Qin Yao is indeed one of the candidates to become the crown princess of the Snow Cloud country. However, based on the information I've gathered, there's almost no hope for her to become the crown princess of the Snow Cloud country. I'm afraid that in the future, she can only be a concubine of the Snow Cloud Emperor. Qin Wentian's expression froze. Imperial concubines? As the descendant of the Chu country's marshal, it would indeed be extremely difficult for Qin Yao to become the legal wife of the Snow Cloud country. I have to ask Sister Qin Yao if she was willing to do so, or if she was forced by others. Qin Wentian drew in a deep breath. Why did she come to Chu? Qin Wentian asked. She came to the Royal Academy with a few youths from the Snow Cloud Martial Academy. But according to my conjecture, your sister Qin Yao has another motive. In order to save Qin Wu and Qin Chuan, she wanted to use the name of Snow Cloud to exert pressure on Chu. Qin Wentian nodded his head. Qin Yao naturally wanted to save Grandpa Qin and his father. In addition, I have to tell you a piece of bad news. Luo Huan continued, Orkan's cultivation base has broken through to the 9th level of arterial circulation, and his strength is several times stronger than before. Got it. Qin Wentian nodded his head as he sighed in his heart. Everyone was working hard to improve themselves. If he wasn't strong enough, others would leave him in the dust. Okay, let's go meet Luo Qinxiu. Right. Qin Wentian nodded his head. After which, Luo Huan led him and Fan Lu away. On the arena of the Emperor Star Academy, two silhouettes were currently sparring. Although it was just a sparring session, their methods were extremely ruthless, and each strike was fatal. There were many spectators in the surroundings, and the atmosphere was extremely lively. This time around, Luo Qianqiu's strength has grown even stronger. Even Nantian couldn't defend against his attacks. In the future, young Master Luo will definitely become the true leader of our Azura faction. Many in the crowd smiled and nodded their heads as they stared at the two silhouettes on the arena. Luo Qianqiu was indeed a demon-level character. His rate of growth was too fast, and this was only his second year in the Emperor Star Academy, yet he was already so terrifying. On the arena, the sound of an intense collision rang out as the two silhouettes separated. After which, Nantian laughed, "Qianqiu, you've grown even stronger. I'm afraid that I won't be your opponent in the near future." Luo Qianqiu was clad in a green robe, appearing extremely neat and tidy. His handsome features, as well as his long hair fluttering in the wind, caused people to look up to him. He was Luo Qianqiu, a legendary character from the previous batch of students in the Emperor Star Academy. Currently, he had already reached the peak of the 7th level of arterial circulation. Not only that, his combat prowess would only grow even stronger. Luo Qianqiu didn't deny Nantian's words. In fact, even if he were to fight against Nantian now, he didn't think that he would lose. Young Master Luo. At this moment, below the arena, Farrell called out. After which, he turned his gaze to a spot not far away, only to see three silhouettes walking over. They were none other than Luo Huan, Qin Wentian, and Fan Lu. The two beside Luo Huan are none other than Qin Wentian and Fan Lu. The incident that happened back then was caused by the two of them. Farrell spoke, causing Luo Qianqiu's gaze to shift in the direction of Luo Huan. His eyes instantly locked onto Qin Wentian. Was this person the top ranker of the new batch of students? Qin Wentian, Fan Lu, and the rest walked to a location not far away from the arena. They stared at the silhouette standing on the arena. This person exuded an extraordinary aura, and just by standing there, he attracted the attention of everyone. Although Orkan was also powerful, Orkan was extremely cold. If one were to compare Luo Qianqiu with Orkan, Luo Qianqiu would definitely be more arrogant. Luo Qianqiu calmly stood there, staring at Qin Wentian as he asked, "Are you the one who stole my blood ember fruits?" Qin Wentian and Fan Lu silently shook their heads. However, they also understood that in the current situation, if Luo Qianqiu said it was his, then it was his. Back then when we were fighting for the blood ember fruits, I didn't know senior brother Luo. I hope senior brother won't blame me. Qin Wentian replied. Let's cut the crap. I'm sure you still have more blood ember fruits, right? Hand them all over. Luo Qianqiu stood on the arena, his voice indifferent as he calmly stated. The surrounding crowd stared at the silhouette. Although Qin Wentian was also a famous character, there was still a gap between him and Luo Qianqiu. The two of them were still not on the same level. The members of the Azura Alliance also had expressions of interest on their faces. This fellow actually dared to interfere with Luo Qianqiu's blood ember fruits. The blood ember fruits have already been consumed by me. I hope senior brother can forgive me. Qin Wentian was still as polite as ever. However, expressions of interest appeared on the faces of the spectators. Since the blood ember fruits had already been consumed, there was no longer any meaning for Qin Wentian to come here. Luo Qianqiu lifted his feet and walked down the stairs. You actually dare to swallow my things? As the sound of his voice faded, a terrifying pressure gushed towards Qin Wentian. Faint flashes of lightning could be seen flickering in the air, the pressure was extremely intense. Boom! Qin Wentian steadied his steps as he stared at Luo Qianqiu. His teacher Mustang and Luo Huan had asked him to come, and he had come to express his attitude. However, he had already consumed the blood ember fruits yesterday, and had no intentions of handing them over. What Luo Qianqiu wanted to do, was not something he could control. Luo Huan's beautiful eyes flashed with a strange light as she stared at Qin Wentian with a bitter smile on her face. This fellow had actually consumed all the blood ember fruits. Boom! Luo Qianqiu stepped down from the platform, his aura grew even stronger, akin to a raging tempest. That terrifying might of lightning slammed into Qin Wentian's body. The spectators stared at Luo Qianqiu, silently cursing his tyranny. This Qin Wentian was truly unlucky. However, no one sympathized with him. This was a world where strength was everything. Boom! With his third step, Luo Qianqiu appeared in front of Qin Wentian. After which, he lifted his fist and punched towards Qin Wentian. The explosive might of lightning contained within his fist was so strong that it seemed as though it wanted to destroy everything. Qin Wentian felt his scalp going numb as he felt an immense pressure weighing down on him. Gathering all the energy in his body, Qin Wentian's countenance was calm to the extreme. Taking a step forward, he blasted out with the revolving sea imprint as Luo Qianqiu's fist slammed towards him. A thunderous sound echoed out as the raging tempest instantly destroyed the revolving sea imprint. The terrifying might of the attack slammed into Qin Wentian, causing him to groan in agony as he retreated explosively, spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. Luo Huan's beautiful eyes flickered, she didn't help Qin Wentian. There were some things that Qin Wentian had to face by himself. Arrogant. The crowd stared at Luo Qianqiu's silhouette, only to see him stepping forward once more. His silhouette was akin to a gust of wind, exuding an intense killing intent. Qin Wentian inclined his head, his calm eyes flashing with a cold killing intent. As the raging tempest neared him, the killing intent in his eyes grew denser and denser. Show mercy. At this moment, a thunderous sound rang out in the air. Following which, the crowd only saw a silhouette soaring through the air. Luo Qianqiu's fist stopped right in front of Qin Wentian. The terrifying pressure from the fist slammed into Qin Wentian's face, causing his long hair to flutter in the wind. Luo Qianqiu didn't even bother to look at Qin Wentian. Instead, he inclined his head and stared at the white-robed silhouette in the air. Ling Hua. Luo Qianqiu stared at the silhouette in the air. Can you give me some face? Ling Hua spoke. Luo Qianqiu swept a glance at Qin Wentian. Even at this moment, his countenance was as calm as ever. Maybe, in his heart, he didn't even place Qin Wentian in his eyes. Fine. Since the leader of the Green Cloud Alliance has personally spoken, I will forget about this matter. Luo Qianqiu turned around, as the members of the Azura Alliance watched this scene with interest. They didn't expect that Ling Hua would actually plead for mercy on behalf of Qin Wentian. They had initially thought that if Luo Qianqiu wanted to kill Qin Wentian, the Academy would be the one to step out. The members of the Azura Alliance departed. The crowd stared at Luo Qianqiu's back, as traces of respect could be seen in their eyes. Who wouldn't have known of the demon-level talent of the Emperor Star Academy, Luo Qianqiu? Compared to him, the current Qin Wentian was still lacking. Today, Qin Wentian could be considered to have escaped with his life. Qin Wentian still stood there, his left sleeve covering his palm. Within his sleeve, a golden short sword could be seen. It was a third-rank divine weapon, the Gold Punisher sword. Did Qin Wentian really escape with his life? If Ling Hua hadn't appeared, the one who died wouldn't have been Qin Wentian. Chapter 73. Qin Wentian's countenance was as calm as ever. From Luo Qianqiu's eyes, he could see disregard. Luo Qianqiu didn't care about him at all. What Luo Qianqiu wanted was the blood ember fruits. From his point of view, the blood ember fruits belonged to him. Luo Qianqiu didn't care about Qin Wentian's life or death. In Luo Qianqiu's eyes, it didn't matter whether he killed Qin Wentian or not. Keeping the gold element sword in his sleeves, Qin Wentian smiled as he watched Luo Qianqiu's departing figure. Initially, he didn't care if Luo Qianqiu was a demon-level genius of the academy. But now, he did. The humiliation he suffered today, he would definitely repay it tenfold in the future. Junior brother. Luo Huan called out. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over and smiled at Luo Huan. It was as though he had already forgotten everything that had happened earlier. Before trampling on Luo Qianqiu's strength, so what if he cared? Many thanks, senior brother. Qin Wentian then glanced at Ling Hua in the air as he expressed his thanks. If Ling Hua hadn't appeared, he would have killed Luo Qianqiu. Regardless of who Luo Qianqiu was, how could he let them off when they wanted to kill him? However, after killing Luo Qianqiu, he was afraid that he would be in deep trouble. Ling Hua's appearance at the very least helped him avoid that. What he needed to do now was to silently raise his strength. No need to stand on ceremony. Work hard. Ling Hua smiled and nodded to Qin Wentian before walking away. Senior sister, I still need you to help me with something. Qin Wentian stared at Luo Huan as he spoke. You don't need to stand on ceremony with me. Luo Huan hugged Qin Wentian's arm. I wish to see my sister Qin Yao. Does senior sister have any way to help me arrange it? Qin Wentian asked. Your sister should be in the Royal Academy right now. I'll think of a way. If there's any news, I'll look for you. Luo Huan's beautiful eyes flashed with contemplation. I'll have to trouble senior sister then. Qin Wentian smiled. Don't worry about such a small matter. What you should do is to raise your strength. Yes, I understand. The corners of Qin Wentian's lips curled up slightly, as a playful smile appeared on his face. Luo Qianqiu, Orkan, and the Knights Association. He was looking forward to the future. With them accompanying him on his path of growth, he would definitely not be lonely. Qin Wentian was happy to accept these challenges. All of this would urge him to ceaselessly become stronger. After returning to his residence, Qin Wentian spent a few days stabilizing his cultivation base. The effects of the 3 blood ember fruits were still present in his body, and Qin Wentian continued to extract more energy from them, stimulating his acupoints and expanding his arterial pathways. Occasionally, he would make a trip to the Divine Weapon Pavilion to forge divine weapons and bring some Yuan meteor stones over to cultivate. The cultivation of the spiritual refinement method was extremely taxing on Yuan meteor stones. Fan Lu seemed to have been stimulated as well. These few days, he was extremely hard-working in his cultivation, and would occasionally head to the Heavenly Star Pavilion and the Astral River Hall. Dream Sky Forest Dreamland, City of Illusions. In a spacious area, 2 people were currently engaged in combat. One of them was clad in the robes of a knight, while the other was clad in a simple white robe. However, on his face, there was a fiery Kirin mask that exuded an aura of savagery. Kacha. A crisp sound rang out as the person clad in the knight's robes had one of his arms broken. The pain caused him to perspire unceasingly. However, the white-robed figure had no intentions of letting him go. His arm was akin to a dragon's claw, and abruptly, his other arm trembled. In an instant, a scream of agony rang out as the other arm of the knight was forcibly broken. Who are you? Which academy are you from? The countenance of the knight paled as he howled in rage. He was a member of the Knights Association, yet there was actually someone who dared to kill him in such a manner. Kacha. Another 2 sounds rang out, as the legs of the Knights Association were broken. Like a corpse, he lay limply on the ground. The white-robed figure immediately departed, disappearing from this area. Not long after, the silhouettes of a group of knights rushed over. Upon seeing their comrade who was curled up on the ground, a cold light flickered in their eyes as they asked, "Who did this?" This was torture, a cruel punishment. Only enemies would do such a thing in the dreamland. I don't know, I'm wearing the Kirin mask. That person was in so much pain that his entire body was convulsing. Kill me first. One of the knights nodded his head, as a long spear pierced through the skull of that person, killing him. Momentarily, that person exited the dreamland. Qin Wentian sprinted in the city of illusions, his body akin to that of a great rock soaring through the skies, appearing extremely carefree and at ease. His face was covered by the Kirin mask. Since members of the Knights Association could enter the dreamland while wearing the robes of a Knights Association, Qin Wentian wanted to see if it would be the same when he entered the dreamland while wearing the Kirin mask. Evidently, he had succeeded. As long as he met any member of the Knights Association that wasn't too strong, he would mercilessly torture them. Back then, Qin Wentian would never forget the scene of those ice-cold long spears piercing into Fan Li's body. The sprinting Qin Wentian halted his steps on a circular stone platform. He slowly turned and spoke, "You've been following me for so long, come out." From the side of a building, a silhouette walked out. This silhouette had an exquisite figure, with extremely beautiful curves. It was actually a woman, but her face couldn't be seen clearly. She was the same as Qin Wentian, wearing a mask. "I've watched your battle. The dragon subduing fist combined with the Qin Na fist, how ruthless." The voice of the woman was melodious as she slowly walked towards Qin Wentian. "And then?" Qin Wentian calmly asked. "I still want to see how fast your movement technique is." After speaking, the woman's body was like a raging gale as she dashed towards Qin Wentian. Her palms abruptly blasted out, as though a terrifying tempest was tearing through the air. Qin Wentian continuously stepped out, his movements were incomparably exquisite. His entire person flickered as he transformed into a series of afterimages. "Humph," the woman coldly snorted. Her palms grew sharper and sharper, akin to a sharp blade sweeping through the air. Her speed was also extremely fast, and the movement techniques of the two of them were both extremely exquisite. As the battle continued, the woman was astonished. Every single palm strike of hers brushed past Qin Wentian's body. Every time it seemed as though she was about to land a blow, her opponent would always be able to evade at the most dangerous moment. His movement technique was extremely exquisite. Abruptly, she released her astral souls, causing a terrifying tempest to arise in this space. The woman lightly snorted, as boundless palm force blasted out from within the tempest. Qin Wentian felt as though his entire surroundings were being enveloped by the tempest. He could only lift his palms to defend himself. Dragon roars echoed out as his fists were instantly blasted apart. However, his body borrowed the force of the impact and floated far away, appearing extremely carefree. "What's the use of dodging?" The woman coldly snorted. Her movement technique increased in speed, as a tyrannical tempest engulfed Qin Wentian within it. Her silhouette instantly appeared beside Qin Wentian, as countless palm imprints blasted out simultaneously. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed like lightning. His body transformed into a shadow as he executed the Garuda movement technique to the extreme, consecutively dodging several palm imprints. It was an extremely thrilling experience. At the same time, he punched out, aiming for the woman's face. The expression in the woman's eyes changed as she saw the incoming fist light. "Come again tomorrow." As the sound of her voice faded, the dragon subduing fists blasted out, destroying the woman. At the same time, Qin Wentian had no way to dodge the palm imprint of his opponent, and was also blasted out of the dreamscape. "Who?" In the dream sky forest, Qin Wentian drew in a deep breath. His body was currently lying in a secluded location. Removing his mask, Qin Wentian sat up, 5th level of arterial circulation, storm-type astral soul, powerful movement techniques, and powerful palm techniques. "I wonder which academy she is from." Qin Wentian mumbled. Battling with that woman was beneficial to the tempering of his Garuda movement technique. Of course, the prerequisite was that he didn't use his divine energy to directly kill his opponent. Leaving the Dream Sky Forest, Qin Wentian continued his cultivation. The next day, he entered the Dream Sky Forest and entered the City of Illusions, continuing his training. At the same time, he didn't forget to kill members of the Knights Association. When he arrived at the location yesterday, the woman was still there. "This time around, you won't be so lucky." The woman spoke, as she instantly dashed towards Qin Wentian. The two of them exchanged moves once again, and in the end, Qin Wentian blasted his opponent to death once again. For the next few days, the woman came to the City of Illusions every day, and although she was blasted to death again and again, she didn't seem to mind. When sparring with Qin Wentian, she discovered that her innate techniques had improved by leaps and bounds. However, what made her depressed was that the Kirin masked man's improvement was even faster than hers. Although his cultivation base was weaker than hers, he was still able to kill her every time. To Qin Wentian, this was merely a small interlude. Every day, he would head to that place to battle, and it would be beneficial to him in tempering his movement techniques. But other than tempering his movement techniques, he was also tempering his combat prowess. After challenging many opponents in the City of Illusions, many people started to know that there was a person wearing a Kirin mask in the City of Illusions. His attacks were extremely ruthless, and his combat prowess was also extraordinary. In the Royal Academy, there was also a Dream Sky Forest, which was created by the seniors of the Emperor Star Academy. At this moment, in the Dream Sky Forest of the Royal Academy, a woman took off her mask and stomped her feet, as though she was unwilling to give up. "Bastard!" Mu Rou cursed in a low voice as she was blasted out once again. That fellow really didn't know how to show mercy to the fairer sex. This time around, she didn't even have the chance to speak before he killed her. "What's wrong? Our Miss Mu is being abused again." A low laugh drifted over from the side. It was also a masked young woman. The two of them walked out of the Dream Sky Forest, taking off their masks at the same time. Both of them were exceedingly beautiful. "Screw you, but that fellow's movement technique is truly powerful. Even now, I can't even touch him," Mu Rou said in a depressed tone. "Is that so? Tomorrow, I shall go and meet him as well. Who exactly is he that our Miss Mu can't forget about every day?" Chu Ling teased. "Are you still free? Didn't your clan ask you to accompany Qin Yao?" Mu Rou asked. A woman from a rebellious clan actually became the crown princess of Snowcloud Country. "What a joke!" Chu Ling disdainfully replied. "You can't do that, the Qin clan is actually quite pitiful as well." Mu Rou sighed. "It's fine if you say this in front of me, but don't speak nonsense outside." Chu Ling's countenance changed. Mu Rou lightly nodded her head, she naturally understood. Chapter 74. Today, Luo Huan arrived at Qin Wentian's residence. However, she only saw Fan Luan little rascal. "Where's Wentian?" Luo Huan asked. "Senior sister, come in and have a seat." Fan Li's eyes shone with a bright light when he saw Luo Huan. "That fellow has been training in the Dream Sky Forest from day to night." "He's too crazy," Fan Lu replied. Luo Huan's beautiful eyes flickered. That fellow, the matter with Luo Qianxiu must have caused him to feel agitated. After all, Luo Qianxiu's disregard for the Dream Sky Forest was something that even she couldn't stand. Naturally, such agitation was also the driving force behind Qin Wentian's actions. "I'll sit here and wait for him to return. Fatty, come out and chat with me." Luo Huan sat down in front of an ancient tree outside the residence. Fatty nodded as he excitedly ran over, silently praying in his heart that Qin Wentian wouldn't return today. At this moment, Qin Wentian was still in the City of Illusions. His fiery red Kirin mask exuded a malevolent aura. Below his feet, an expert from the Knights Association screamed in agony as he stared venomously at Qin Wentian. Who was it that was targeting their Knights Association? The strength of this masked man was growing stronger and stronger. They were even suspecting if this was the same person. Abruptly, several figures clad in the robes of the Knights Association appeared on the roofs of the surrounding buildings. Their gazes were incomparably cold, and their killing intent was ferocious. I really want to see who exactly you are. Yanaro's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he stared directly at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian inclined his head and similarly stared at Yanaro. Back then, Yanaro had blocked his path and injured him with a single finger strike. It was Rain who had helped him out of the predicament. Orkan wasn't in the academy, and it seemed that Yanaro was temporarily in charge of the Knights Association. Stretching out his hand, Qin Wentian pointed at Yanaro as he executed a decapitation gesture. His eyes, which were not covered by the mask, flickered with killing intent. Yanaro's countenance stiffened. What an arrogant fellow. The silhouettes of the Knights Association flickered as they dashed towards Qin Wentian. However, at the same time, Qin Wentian also sped towards a certain direction. His silhouette flickered, leaving behind numerous afterimages. Kill. The expert from the Knights Association who blocked Qin Wentian had a cultivation base at the 5th level of arterial circulation. His spear pierced out with the speed of lightning, and just as it was about to pierce into Qin Wentian's body twisted slightly. A gust of wind gusted by, and the expert from the Knights Association felt a bone-chilling coldness emanating from his neck. Qin Wentian walked past him and continued to move forward. Divine origin energy gathered under his feet, and he suddenly stomped on the ground. His body soared into the sky like a rock spreading its wings, and he landed on the top of a building. Turning his head back, Qin Wentian's gaze pierced straight towards Yanaro. After which, his silhouette disappeared from the sight of the experts from the Knights Association. This movement technique. Yanaro's countenance stiffened as he stared at the gigantic building. He knew that he wouldn't be able to do such a thing as leaping up into the air. I really want to see who you are. Yanaro dashed forwards, madly chasing after Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's body was as light as a swallow, sprinting madly, shaking off the experts from the Knights Association. The current him was no longer the same Qin Wentian who had just entered the Emperor Star Academy. He believed that it wouldn't be long before he could trample Yanaro beneath his feet. Unknowingly, he had once again arrived at the location where he fought against that female cultivator. But this time around, he saw two people. Other than the female cultivator from before, there was another female cultivator wearing a phoenix mask. Kirin mask, is that him? Chu Ling asked Mu Rou. Mu Rou nodded her head, causing an expression of interest to appear on Chu Ling's face. My movement technique has improved a little these past few days, and I still have to thank you. Mu Rou shifted her gaze onto Qin Wentian as she stated, my name is Mu Rou, a student from the Royal Academy. Can we get to know each other? After which, Mu Rou removed the mask on her face, revealing her beautiful countenance. Mu Rou and Chu Ling both stared at Qin Wentian, as though they were waiting for him to remove his mask. However, under their gazes, Qin Wentian turned and lifted his foot, departing the area. Mu Rou's countenance stiffened as a hint of disappointment flickered in her eyes. She had already removed her mask, yet this fellow didn't even have the slightest interest in getting to know her. Stop right there. Chu Ling shouted. Qin Wentian halted his steps as he calmly stared at Mu Rou. Aren't you a little too insincere? Mu Rou has already removed her mask, how can you still be like this? Chu Ling unhappily stated. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered as he replied, did I agree to anything? Mu Rou and Chu Ling froze, not knowing what to say. It seemed like it was indeed Mu Rou's one-sided wish to get to know him. In reality, she and Qin Wentian had never truly spoken to each other before. The only reason why she wanted to get to know him was because the two of them sparred with each other every day. Who would have thought that Qin Wentian couldn't even be bothered with her? In another direction, several silhouettes appeared, causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flash with a cold light. These fellows were really chasing after him. Yanaro. Mu Ro's countenance changed. She didn't expect to meet this fellow here. Mu Ro. Yanaro's countenance flickered with interest as he slowly walked forward. With a smile, he stated, Mu Ro, ever since we parted, I've missed you a lot. Yanaro, don't talk nonsense. Mu Ro coldly retorted. Why are you always bothering Mu Ro? Chu Ling cursed in a low voice, causing Yanaro's gaze to shift to the masked Chu Ling as he laughed, so it's Princess Ling, or. So what if I am? You have no sense of shame. Chu Ling removed her mask as she coldly replied. Is that so? A cold light flickered in Yanaro's eyes as he walked towards Mu Ro and Chu Ling, causing Mu Ro's countenance to change as she asked, What do you want? I don't want to do anything. Since we've met in this dreamscape, Mu Ro, why must you be so distant? Yanaro walked towards Mu Ro, his eyes gleaming with sharpness. These two girls really didn't give him any face. Kill him. At the same time, Yanaro pointed his finger at Qin Wentian. Immediately, a few members of the Knights Association surrounded Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian, who was originally prepared to leave, didn't feel like leaving at this moment. Staring at the silhouettes surrounding him, he abruptly dashed towards one of them. That person stared at Qin Wentian as he released his astral souls. His palms blasted outwards as a terrifying surge of energy gushed forth, transforming into the form of a roaring python. Qin Wentian's palms trembled. This time around, he didn't evade. Instead, he punched out with the dragon-subduing fists. Draconic roars echoed in the air as the tyrannical divine energy contained within the dragon-subduing fists crushed everything in its path. With a thunderous boom, the head of that person exploded, dying instantly. This scene caused the countenance of the silhouette that was rushing over to stiffen. But at this moment, he only felt Qin Wentian's silhouette transforming into a blur, so blurry that he couldn't even see him clearly. He felt a cold sensation on his neck as a gust of raging wind gusted by. Yanaro, Mu Ro, and Chu Ling all witnessed this scene. A cold light flickered in Yanaro's eyes, while the beautiful eyes of Mu Ro and Chu Ling shone with a strange light. Qin Wentian's strength was extremely strong, 5th level of arterial circulation. Yanaro's gaze was as sharp as a blade. During these few days, the person who hunted the members of the Knights Association had actually advanced from the 4th level of arterial circulation to the 5th level of arterial circulation. Or could it be that Qin Wentian had intentionally concealed his true strength before this? In the past, when we fought, he actually didn't use his full strength. Mu Ro's beautiful eyes froze as she felt the pressure. Her cultivation base was also at the 5th level of arterial circulation, but when Qin Wentian fought with her previously, he had always been at the 4th level of arterial circulation. In reality, when Qin Wentian sparred with her for the first time, his cultivation base was indeed at the 4th level of arterial circulation. It was only because of his crazy cultivation that he had stepped into the 5th level of arterial circulation 2 days ago. Qin Wentian stopped not far away from Yanaro. The aura of a cultivator at the 5th level of arterial circulation was incomparably tyrannical as he spoke to Mu Ro, let's go. Be careful. Mu Ro nodded her head, as she left together with Chu Ling. The students of the academy could do whatever they wanted in the dreamscape, and Yanaro didn't care about the rules at all. It was indeed possible that he would do something that would embarrass her. I'm really curious, who are you exactly? Yanaro's aura of a cultivator at the 7th level of arterial circulation erupted forth. Taking a step forward, a terrifying pressure bore down on Qin Wentian. His body trembled as he stabbed out with his finger, aiming for Qin Wentian. Numerous sharp swords appeared in the air. Qin Wentian didn't retreat. Instead, he punched out with the dragon-subduing fist, shattering the finger light as the roars of dragons echoed out. Humph, Yanaro snorted as he took a step forward. His 5 fingers punched out, and it was as though there were countless sharp swords howling in the air as they slashed out. Qin Wentian didn't retreat. Instead, he abruptly stepped out, causing the ground to tremble. His silhouette transformed into a blur as he dashed towards Yanaro. Even though he was punching out with his fists, the violent divine energy within his body was still as ferocious as before. "You are courting death." Yanaro roared in rage. His entire body was enveloped in sword chi, penetrating through everything. Both his palms slammed out, as though there were countless beams of sword light slashing towards Qin Wentian, tearing apart the entire space. The sound of metal clashing rang out unceasingly. Yanaro coldly laughed in his heart. His opponent allowed the sword chi to attack him, and his body was as fast as lightning. His fists howled as they blasted towards Yanaro's head. Scram! Yanaro roared in rage. His palms were like swords as he slashed out. His opponent's body swayed once again, and he managed to dodge the attack. His sword pierced into his opponent's body, but his fist had also blasted apart his opponent's head. Yanaro let out a low growl when he woke up in the dream sky forest. He had actually been killed by a mere 5th-level arterial circulation realm cultivator. What a great humiliation. Which academy was this person from? How could he be so crazy? Ignoring the pain of the sword chi piercing into his body, he still wanted to kill him. Naturally, he wouldn't have thought that the person who killed him was actually Qin Wentian. Although Qin Wentian had used the dragon subduing fist, there were many people who knew the dragon subduing fist. And in his impression, Qin Wentian was just a weakling with a decent talent. At the same time, Qin Wentian was already thinking that the next time they fought, the ending would be different. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.